Hello.
Oh, hi.
Welcome. Yeah, hi. We're here. There we go. All right. Welcome to Roger Toy Princess. I'm Allison Troy. And with me today is Andrew from Gayties Toys. Hello, Andrew.
Well, hello. I don't have a quippy comment today, but
It's okay.
I'll come back to that.
There will be plenty of time for whippy quippy coolness. So yeah. All
Excellent.
right. Let's see. All right, and then just a quick reminder, everyone: Moby is trash. Contrary to what Brenda on the internet tried to tell me last night. I'm sure
Who's
he's
Brenda?
really I'm sure he's a really nice person. My friend. I was telling Andrew this before we went live, but a friend of mine posted on Facebook, which that's my first cue. I shouldn't even be on Facebook. But he was just like, we should all just get along. Music is good. We should all love music. Just love what you love, and like as people do. And I was like, except Moby, never Moby. And some lady just replied, I'm sure he's very nice. He has that one good album. And yeah, I'm just like, I can't. So I was just like, I'll tell Natalie Portman next time I see her that you think Moby's a swell guy.
Although
So
wasn't Natalie reportedly also a monster on the set of episode 1? She was 14, granted, but I mean, still.
they've said that, but I'm going to probably hazard a guess that if a 14-year-old is a quote-unquote monster on the set, that it's more likely whoever her handlers were that were being a monster. Because
Yeah.
when she was in Austin, I lived in Austin when they filmed Where the Heart Is. I shopped. I literally was mad because I went to go buy Star Wars Episode 1 action figures because the store they filmed that at was out of the way. So none of the other collectors were actually hitting it up at that time, at the time of that. But they would, and they would have to move out all of the Star Wars stuff because like that would sort of break the spell of the movie if when she's having her baby in Walmart, the camera pans back and right there's the big Amidala display thing. So yeah,
Yeah. Not cute
the
looking.
the internet. All right, let's see. Really quick, let's say hello to the chat. Good morning, Thanos. Everyone go check out Thanos' channel. I watched his video this morning. Forgot to comment. I'll have to do that after the stream. I watched it. Good morning, Bobby. Yeah, it felt like at one point they were hesitating and almost gonna do it, and then they didn't. So
Yeah. It seems like they're almost trying again too, where like I think it was 2000, I want to say 16 or 17, where they were like, we're doing ROM, we're doing Visionaries, we're doing
right.
everybody, and it's going to be
Yeah.
called Revolution or something like that. And it was just basically like, everyone, even Gem, like everyone in the same universe. And that kind of like shit the bed real quick.
And then that gym movie happened, and
Yeah, there's that. But
I
then now, like likewise, they did the Beast Transformers movie like last year, I think, maybe this year. And they're like, G.I. Joe's back, and I'm like, okay, like pick a lane.
yeah, right. Well, after the marvel of that Battleship movie, I just
I thought I would have seen it. I didn't bother. I was like, I don't know.
I saw it because Peter Berg directed it, and I used to have a magnificent crush on him after watching Linda Fiorentino completely destroy his character in The Last Seduction. It's probably a bad sign that at one point in my life she was my inspirational model, her character in that movie. But yeah, so I went and saw Battleship. I'm like, it could be good. We could be surprised. You never know.
I think we do. It's very much like I think I was. Oh god, it was. I mean, this is years ago. I think I was living in Vancouver at the time, and I was like so wildly hungover that my roommate was there, and she was like, "It's like, hey, like Catwoman's on TV, like it's on cable. Do you want to watch it?" And I'm
Oh
like,
my god.
"I'm too hungover to fight. Like I don't
I
care." And so we
can't.
sat down
Yeah.
and watched the whole thing. It was
And
worse
you
than
were
I
like,
could have imagined.
and I feel worse. I'm so
Totally.
it's like one of those hangovers where your hair hurts.
Yep. Yep.
I used to counteract those. I would put on Enya, and within 5 or 6 minutes of like this, like you get through one song, and then by the second song it was just like a coma, like just lulled into a coma by Enya. And as soon as the CD would stop, I would wake up and my hair was like, I can't believe you did this to me, you bitch. I hate you, girl.
Like, why would you do this?
Yeah, right. How come you had to have that seventh Jaeger's Schlager airplane bottle? And it's because there were seven Goldschlager airplane bottles in the freezer. Like, why wouldn't I drink all seven of those? Come on here.
Obviously. I'm really more the Fireball. I don't know if do you have that in the States? It's like the cinnamon
Yep.
hearts booze. Yeah, that's like anyone says like let's do tequila. I'm like, no, I'm above that. I'm a grown up.
I
You
would.
give me Fireball and I'm like, yes.
Yeah. I used to peppermint schnapps. I would get the little fifth.
Mm.
The rum that tastes like coconut. I would sneak that into movie theaters in the little plastic flask bottle, and then just go to the bathroom, drink about half of the 7 Up, and then fill it to as much of the, and then just kill the rest of it, and then leave it in the trash can in the movie theater. Your 20s, you have to do stuff like that because
Like, that's part of the thing too. There's always the discussion of like, granted things were cheaper when we were younger, but when like
yeah,
we didn't make that much money. So it's that thing where like, how did we afford to go out? A, it was cheaper, but B, we took a lot of shortcuts. Like, I mean, it's that thing where we'd go to a gross bar, on a Tuesday night because they had dollar
yeah,
shooters. And we're like, obviously we have to go.
yeah, right. Nickel beer. Okay, I'm in. You get
Okay.
like an entire flat with like little tiny plastic cups of like terrible Natty Light or Bud. The best was when it was the Bud Light. That's how you knew it was the fancy night at the bar. You could
Oh
get a
God, no.
nickel. It would be like $1 for an entire flat with these little. That was the bar where I went with, like, in the deep south. Sometimes when you're old enough, you go to the bar with your whole family and your whole neighborhood basically. And our neighbor Debbie had hurt her foot at the dive bar one weekend. She got a little too enthusiastic during Ice Baby and
We've all
slipped.
been there.
Yeah, exactly. Like relatable. It was the 90s, and she slipped. Her feet went out from under her, landed flat on her butt. But in the process of going down, she tried to save herself, and her ankle twisted and it broke. So anyway, there was like, but that didn't stop her. Like the next weekend we were all still there. Well, the next Tuesday, because it was Tuesday night, nickel beer.
Yeah,
And
that's the
for
beginning of the
whatever
weekend for us.
reason, some dude got all up in my face and I just chewed him out, and he thought he was gonna, he just sort of pulled his hand back, and the next thing we know, bar fight, and Debbie's over in the corner taking people out with her crutches. People like try to run into the fight, and she's just like wham.
I'm just like, hell no.
Yeah, right. It's a little bit like the picture, like like these staffs that they're using. That was her and her crutch, like her one crutch, just taking people out, whacking them in the face with like the. I was pretty impressed.
Yeah,
It
that's
was.
I'm from the east coast of Canada, which is a little scrappy as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's more than a few stories, most of which I don't remember, but like I absolutely started most of
It's
the
the only
fight.
time I've started. It's usually like the girl who's like 5'2" that starts the fight at the bar.
Yeah, it was a lot of my friends. Which and it's funny too, but it was great. Like, 'cause, I mean, I had like all these like little like kind of like short, tiny waist, big boob friends, and
Yeah.
then all the hockey team, the football team, everyone wanted them, so they were like trying to be friends with me,
Yeah.
which was handy because I was really like shooting my mouth off, and so like invariably someone would be like, "You want to go?" I'm like, "I don't," but the football team back there might.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Charlie, Edgar, and whatever that one's name is, they want to have a talk with you.
Yeah, right.
And it was the one whose name you didn't know that you ended up making out with later. And then it was awkward.
Yeah, there was a few of those too.
My favorite was I went right before 9/11. I went to the DC area to hang out with internet friends. We all met like on a Liz Fair mailing list. And for a while, we would do regular, like
Excuse me.
get-togethers. Are you okay?
The the Lilith Fair mailing list.
Liz Fair, not Lilith Fair.
Okay. I was like,
Liz Fair, yeah, not Lilith Fair. Like, I mean, like I went to all of the Lilith fairs, but there weren't enough same-sex oriented ladies in these groups for it to be a Lilith Fair thing.
that's fair.
But we went to DC, and I ended up like it was the first time I got to go to Baltimore. It's true what they say about the crab cakes in Baltimore. Let me tell you, they are definitely good. But also, what's cool was at the end of the night when the bar closed, you could like right before it closed, you could just go to the bar and buy booze. So we all went and bought six
Mm.
packs, went to a house party, ended up meeting this hot guy from the area who was apparently Secret Service, and then we made out in the bushes in front of the Edgar Allan Poe statue. So it was very
Oh,
Baltimore. I felt like like this is how you end up in a John Waters movie. So it was
amazing.
it was also what 2001, so like different standards or whatever. I think it was 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2001 was 9/11. We'll
Yeah, I think
never
it's been
forget, but all these years later, memories are a little hazy. So,
a lot of weirdness that year.
it was yeah, energies were weird. Right, really quick, we should check the chat. Let's see. Hello, Alex is here. Hello, happy Sunday.
Hello.
Good to see you. Thanos cannot do sweet liquor, so keep that in mind. Whiskey, the
No one
gross.
can. We just keep doing it.
Yeah, right. It's just it helps. It's like Mary Poppins says, just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Oh, I'm sorry, Alex. It can be really fun to drink too much and do stupid stuff, and then the next day have to apologize to all of your friends for like having zero filter and telling Betty that she doesn't look good in a yellow hat. Hello, Al. I want to call you Alex too. Hello, Adam. Yeah, Visionaries are super rad.
See?
Good morning, Rolando. Well, it may not be morning where you are, but it's morning here. It's morning here until I say it's not. So, all right, I think we are caught up with chat. So, anyway, drinking, Canada, Visionaries, it all ties together.
You're right. It really helps sometimes. Yeah, because I was thinking, I mean, like I remember I did the Visionary, like I did this post on Instagram like some time ago,
Yeah,
and then I started doing YouTube, and I'm like, this is one of the first ones I want to get to, like, because I love this crew. But like, I kind of poked around, and then after talking to like Derek over in yesterday's, like he's
yeah.
like, people hate Visionaries or like don't know about it or both. Like there's just
It's
sort of
just,
this active thing, and I'm like, I thought
yeah.
everyone loved it. I was like,
It's weird. Well, they did their episode of it, right? And like
mm,
Derek, because they've just started putting the episodes up on YouTube. He was asking me about. Well, apparently, also the numbers for the original airing of the podcast didn't do so. It was like one of their lowest shows, and I'm like, but it was my favorite of all the ones you've done so far.
yeah, like the episode was
Uh,
great.
yeah, it was a great episode. Um, but he was, as they've been posting them on YouTube, he was like, "Look, Visionaries has the lowest." I'm like, Pretty much." And then he was like, "But Gem is low also." I'm like, "But Gem is." I'm like, "That's okay and that's normal. Gem will have low numbers for your first few weeks, and then in two or
People will
three
discover it.
in a month." Well, Gem fans are
They're nuts. Like they're not monster high nuts, but they're nuts. Like,
but it's amazing too though because like I've had like I post daily shorts, right?
mhm.
And a bunch of the gem stuff just it would get less than 100 views, and I'd be like, "Ah, no more gem." And then I would go and check analytics, and like suddenly on a Tuesday, 3 months later, 50 people have watched the gem and the holograms shorts. Like, so those are
Yeah,
all hitting 300 now, months after the fact, because once one or two gem fans finally find it, they watch and they watch it. They watch it. They will watch, like the watch time on is like 170% on each of because they just watch it over and over.
yeah.
But what I have learned is if you don't use actual gem songs, they will not watch it. They don't like that. So I, like I tried to mix it up and put like some climax ladies room songs. Like I tried to do pop music. They did not care for that.
Mm.
It needs to be the Gem theme song or like one of the it can't even be one of the deep cuts from the soundtrack. It has to be a very recognizable Gem song.
Yeah, because there's a soundtrack. There's the soundtrack for the movie, but then there's like a soundtrack. They
Yeah,
had
no,
sort of taken some of the big songs from the
yeah.
show
If
and gave it
it's
to like up and comers, and they were like not up and comers, but they were
no,
like sort of just
yeah,
random
you
people
have to
on
give the
staff.
Starlight Girls, which are the original Gem singers who have come in and recorded all of it for the modern age.
Yeah,
If it's anything else, they get mad. And hey, I don't mind because they're, like I don't mind catering to a niche. Like I am a niche channel, like collectible toys, coloring, um,
really. These are the things that bring you
obscure,
joy.
yeah, right, obscure 80s toy lines that have, like strong female characters in them. Like yeah, they're like all
You're like an easy
17 of you
mark. Yeah.
guys. All 17 of you are in the chat right now. Um, hello, Ria. Good morning. Um,
Oh, there's Mr. Hoover.
yeah, there's Mr. Hoover.
We were just talking shit about you.
Yeah, we were Derek. We were talking shit about the Hoove. I just finished Derek's book. Derek wrote a book, everyone. It's on Amazon. I'll put a link to it later so everyone can go buy it and read it. We should book
Hi,
club
Judy.
it. And just I should be coloring more of the lava, but it's called Mr. Wisteria by Derek J. Hoover. You can find it at Amazon. And although it says as the first work in Derek J. Hoover's series, Chaz Faraday's Misadventures, and we did meet Chaz and his close knit group of friends in this book. Like there are no other books, Derek. So that is my main criticism: is that I need more. Anyway, so yeah, go buy Derek's books, everyone. And yesterday's podcast, which is Derek, so he's now shit talking himself. We gotta love that. So we appreciate somebody who can self-deprecate.
Mhm.
There are some people who need to
Mhm.
self-immolate who have not, but self-deprecation always good. So
Alas, no.
yeah. So anyway, visionary. I would assume vision, but again, like I always thought I never had visionaries as a kid. My brother had a few because there were no ladies. Like that was the only way you could get me to
Yeah.
buy a toy line is it needed to have actual female characters I could get hands on.
Yeah, I mean that's like it's a thing where like I love this cartoon and I love the women on the cartoon, but then
Yeah.
of course they were like never gonna be big into figures, so it's kind of like like I'm torn. So like I just always got really mad about it because it was too bad. And they had two, and they were sort of like it wasn't like a Tila Evelyn thing where you're like one's a witch and one's this and that. They were just like two chicks who just happened to like be caught up in this whole nonsense.
No, that's what's interesting is like this one scene, of course, that we're coloring has them sort of fighting. But the other visionary, because there are a couple of visionary color, and I bought these for those who are watching. Retro Reprints, which is an online store that he's the archivist, and it's I'm pretty sure just one guy. He scans all these old coloring books, makes them much prettier than when I scan old coloring books. Um, and like the Visionaries, I think are $4 or $5 a piece, which is still cheaper than if you were to try to like I looked into buying Visionaries like the old coloring book, these coloring books, like hard copies, and I was like, I'll scan them myself, and I'm like, I'm not spending that much money on a coloring book, because you have to find them uncolored.
Yeah, and
So
like
it's a pain in
decent
the
shape.
ass to clean it up. I've got a vintage Kenner 1977 Star Wars coloring book that I bought for like $50, and about 50% of it is colored in, and it's such a fucking nightmare. Oh,
Ugh.
wow, we're far enough into the stream, I won't get demonetized. Not that I monetized yet, but eventually
I was
when I
gonna say,
am.
like you're
I'm not
monetized
yet, but in a year from now, when I'm monetized,
when I'm
and
rich.
people try to come and watch this, and then I don't get money for it because I dropped the F bomb, but it's far enough that it'll be fine.
Yeah, I had
Um,
that thing. I'm still very new to this, where like I'm kind of every time they're like, "Oh, is this suitable for kids?" I'm like, "I guess kinda." But I
No,
mean, yeah, this
yeah,
last one I did yesterday, I was like, "It's not." Fun fact, it
yeah,
is not.
don't ever, and because you aren't making for a kid audience. Like that's, like,
No.
and what will happen is you can't comment on it if it's kids content. There's no comment, and when you can eventually reach a point where you're monetized, it's not monetized the same way, so you make less money off of it. So I've actually deleted videos that YouTube has been like, girl, we decided this is for kids. And I'm like, I've decided it's not going to be
Oh.
for. I hate losing the 500 views on the My Little Pony thing because I know that's not 500 kids watch. I know a brony interaction when
Yeah,
I see it in the comment section.
like, no kids are looking at this, I can promise you that, like, and if they
Yeah.
are, I better never find out about it.
Well,
Get
I
out of
got
here.
a comment on one of my strawberry shortcake shorts the other day. Somebody was like, "This song is not for kids," and I'm like,
Like, good.
"Exactly. That's why I picked it."
Yeah,
Like
married as book books, bitch. That's why.
I have a Barbie short that hasn't, like I haven't uploaded yet. That will sometime in the next few weeks, where she and Ken are having sodas, and because a lot of Barbie coloring books are like her ordering cheeseburgers and her and Ken eating cheeseburgers and having sodas.
I
Um,
wish.
right? Go on a date with the guy from high school, and he buys you cheeseburgers and sodas. And anyway, I keep thinking I should do Liz Fair fucking run because there's that line about letters and sodas in it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll definitely probably get some comments on that. And it might be fine. I just don't want to go viral for that. There are
The
a
wrong
couple of
reasons.
things I wouldn't mind going viral for, but I don't want to go viral because I picked an ironic song to go with the Barbie coloring short.
Also, like, some of the like, I mean, like, the one you just put up, I think it was yesterday, the Ken in the hot tub, like, it haunts me, like, it's I close my
I
eyes
did
and
that
it's
this
there.
morning. That
I
was this
just,
morning.
like, I'm like, "What is with it?" There's something not right about it. Like, I've met that
Yeah,
guy in a hot tub in, like, a hookup hotel, like, I know him.
yeah, and
He's not
I've
okay, I
been
don't like.
addicted to love with it and I mean that's the thing with when I pick pop music. If I pick like actual, except for Gem, of course, because I learned my lesson.
Don't
Um,
do it.
and that it's sort of, and we'll get back to that in a second. But with the shorts, I tried to pick songs to sort of give it sort of the irony to make it
Mhm.
humorous. Like I don't, like I rarely like it needs to have a level to it. I think it's 30 seconds of your life. You're watching me coloring. I want it to have some sort of like a little bit of humor to it and a little sarcasm, a little sad. I mean, it's me. Like I don't know how not to be completely. Sometimes, though, like every so often, I release something that's very earnest. But yeah.
I would know Ernest if it bit me in the butt. Um,
Oh, the other books are written. He had just gotten divorced. I bet they're full of awesomeness. Just getting divorced is the best time to write a book.
it truly is.
Hmm. Hello, Brennan. Good morning. Thank you. Hello to you.
And that's me.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so anyway, so I try to be cheeky with it, but back to sort of Visionaries, the gem thing. With gem, the reason and I did the one where I picked Ladies Room by Climax, and I'm like, this will be very cheeky. And it's cheeky. I like it. I think it works. I've gotten compliments on the pairing. But what I realized after that was the reason gem fans weren't digging is they get so little content that
Yeah.
when they get anything they want it to land. And it's the same I think with Visionaries. There are people who just don't like it for whatever reason. But for the people who do, for the people this toy line is fun, it's important. They think it was amazing and helped define them. When they get content, they want it to like resonate because they don't
Yeah.
get a lot.
Well, the thing is, like, I always kind of like go back to like Randy or Brian from like Neck or Super 7, and they're sort of like they're both kind of cognizant of what numbers of a fan, like if anyone knows like the actual like numbers of a fan group and what they're
Yeah,
willing to spend money on, like those two I think would be a
yeah.
good, they'd be great to like talk to kind of thing. But I think I find with like Gem, they're kind of like small but mighty. Because when I first moved here, there was like the traveling GemCon. I think
Mhm.
it's annually, and it was here that year.
I would
And I
love.
went, and I was like, I was not well. Like I was like, speaking of hangovers, that was something epic. And I
Yeah,
went to this thing just not okay. And I didn't know what to expect.
yeah,
And very well attended. The same people go wherever it is. And then the best part was the cast. Like um, Samantha Newark,
yeah,
the speaking voice of Jim, she was there, and someone else was there too. But like Samantha, especially, like she knows these people. Like she talks to
yeah,
them every time. She talks to them all through the year. She sees them every con. They follow
yeah,
her. She follows them. And then like she wasn't like in some green room. Like she was like out like sitting at lunch with everybody. And then
yeah. That's yeah.
I
Like, and
came
that's
and I came back the second day, and I remember like end of the day. It was like the Sunday, and I had to take the Monday off because I'm like, I think we're getting into trouble. And she was like, hey, so like, what's going on? And I'm like, there's a GI Joe themed burlesque party downtown. We're going out. Come on down. She's like,
that's
goddamn
weird.
right. And she was down, like she was down to
Oh
clown. And
my
I'm like,
god,
you're my
that's
favorite
awesome.
gem actress ever.
Yeah, and I sort of discovered that after the fact. That's one of the many fun things about sort of that, not, because before I was doing YouTube and before I was making content, there's that thing where it's like spending 17 hours on the internet deep diving into the gem fandom. Hmm. But now, like, it's part of my side hustle. So
Yeah,
just sort of discovering like these fandoms for these sort of obscure, like, obscure to some people, but to them, like, these things are important. And it's like, I didn't deep dive as deeply into Visionaries before this as I might, because I'm like, I'm sure Andrew knows. I'll give us a little extra to talk about between the debauchery and
yeah,
sort of the normal things that happen here. And this would be a very boring live stream for the people hanging out if we strict if we strictly stuck to just talking about the toys and stuff.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's not even that much to talk about because it's one of those. There's like, I think I did my first video. I kind of did a primer where I'm like, let's do like some history. I know it's boring, but I'm like,
Yeah,
bear with me. But this was like the period, there was kind of like the big three and then Ninja Turtles and everything in between. And in between, I'd say like I personally, I think like Thundercats, Real Ghostbusters, some things like did succeed,
yeah.
but most things didn't. Most things were like a one-hit wonder, and basically they were just sort of like anyone was trying anything to make anything work. So this was very much the last gasp of that before Turtles hit.
But I think it's funny because I also, post the old Kenner toy booklet, and I've reached the point
Mhm.
where like all of the Star Wars stuff except the planetary guy, the Power of the Force one stuff is up. Like, I don't own any of that yet, and it's maps, so even if I did have it, it would still take a while to figure out how to post it.
Yeah,
Because obviously the giant poster is not going to work. But I've been working on getting all of the sort of late 80s, early 90s Hasbro stuff up. And it's funny because some of those booklets, there are these just really obscure, strange toy, like there's a licensed stuff that we've come to expect from Kenner. Like, the Police Academy toy line is wild.
love, love.
Um, so one of those booklets went up yesterday with like, the full, and all of the years that Police Academy toy line is in that Kenner booklet. There's only like two waves of figures like that.
Yeah, and
It's
again,
obviously,
like they're on my shit list too, because I mean, like there is I think two women in the cast that I'm like,
yeah, they
where were
didn't.
you? Like,
Yeah, right. And they were in the cartoon, so it's not even like,
oh yeah,
they didn't make the cartoon. And um, I haven't even looked into whether or not there's a Police Academy coloring book. That would be season 4 content, like.
well, the thing
Uh,
is, I was thinking about it recently too, where Police Academy and Problem Child, there was, or like Ernest, there was like a brief period then too when gross out, almost like Garbage Pail Kids-esque comedies
mm,
that were like adult, but they were really for kids, and they were like,
yeah,
they were all terrible, like terrible, but they were
yeah,
like, they were fire too. Like that was, you could not escape
yeah.
their grasp.
Well, it was like, the Garbage Pail Kids movie is interesting because
Mm.
Well, it's terrible, but it was like they really tried to take a, because the Garbage Pail Kid cards, sort of like you said, like they were made for kids, but they were really, what we would consider more adult humor. And then they made that movie, but took this very sort of dirty, vulgar, supposed to be in your face, like property, and then they tried to make it into a family film, and it was sort of that weird thing about like that phase of the 80s where it's like you're getting a lot of sort of really adult, not kid friendly concepts, but then they're trying to package it in a kid friendly way, and it's just
Yeah,
sort of
and it
really
turns into
interesting.
like, who is this for kind of like thing. And same, like, I mean, there's a lot of like identity crisis happening at that point where like R-rated stuff was being made for kids, like Aliens and RoboCop, and you're like,
Yeah.
pick a lane. Like, it's just, it was a very like strange time where,
Well, and yeah, and especially I think with like say Aliens, because originally Kenner was going to do that toy line, and
mm,
then there was like backlash. And I'll say, like if you're gonna make a toy line from an R-rated movie, I think, like Alien/Aliens, that's sort of the way you'll want to go because, even well, I don't know, RoboCop had a lot of sexual content in it. But I think with Alien and Aliens, there was less of the, like Alien, the first one, obviously there's a lot of subtext, that's very adult, but at the same time you can really strip sort of the Alien movies down to like at least the first two sort of to, like Alien number one is just like a haunted house movie in space mixed with like a slasher,
yeah.
and the second one is just this big action movie that, it's the special effects, it's the violence, it's the gore.
And the thing is, like, North American audiences especially are like super fine with the violence, but I think because Alien, especially Aliens, the second one, like it was very, it was about sex, it was about vaginas. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's
very apparent
all,
when you dark, evil vaginas
yeah,
just
the
everywhere.
evil space vagina is going to
And
get
so
you
like,
children.
yeah, so like the Christian moms are like, there's something wrong here, and I can't quite point out what it is, but there's
Yeah,
something not right here. Like,
yeah, there's sort of that whole layer to it, but it's, like, but you have to really, like at the time you had to really dig to get that,
mhm.
like because it's sort of subtext, and it, for a bit it's really easy to like, I think you're just making that up, Helen.
Yeah, you're like, you're just reading into it, and you're like, you're obsessed with sex. This is why you're weird. And meanwhile,
Yeah,
you're like,
sell me a
we all
lemon
see it.
bar, Helen.
Like,
Stop worrying about sex so much.
yeah, you're thinking about kids' genitals way too much. It's
Yeah,
really
right.
creepy. Please stop. Like,
Please, Helen.
yeah,
Please.
like
You have got
for the
one
children.
job, and it's these lemon bars. Your kids are obviously already train wrecks that aren't worth salvaging. Stick to the lemon bars, Helen. Stick to the lemon bars.
Yeah,
I think that's
fluff
what
and udder.
always, yeah, that's I think what always killed me about the those moms that would show up at PTA that were super like, I'm so worried about it. It's like your kids are the reason school sucks. Your kids are the evil bullies.
Yeah, I loved being Gen X. A very, very young, youthful, sexy, big jugged Gen X, thank you. But like I love
Yeah,
being in that bracket where our parents didn't give a shit. And
yeah.
like it's become a joke now, but like I
Well, they,
hitchhiked home at like 5 years old. Like they didn't care. They were like, figure your own way out.
yeah,
Like,
right. Well,
and it
it's
wasn't like
yeah,
neglect. It was just like, well, grow up. Like
but there was
you're
always the
five.
one, yeah, right. But there was always the one Tipper Gore mom who would just show up at and like make everyone's life miserable. It's like we could be having fun right now if Tiffany's mother wasn't such a whore.
Yeah, yeah. No, Tiffany,
Oh, Tiffany. I actually
Ashley
shouldn't have.
Madison or whatever.
I shouldn't have used to. I actually have a couple friends from high school who were named Tiffany, and their moms were actually cool.
Hmm,
So
surprising.
Tiffany, if you're watching this,
Tiffany, you're
um,
all right.
we hate those people still to this day, but it's not your mom. Your mom was cool.
Just yours.
Tiffany
I'm
and I
trying
would
to.
get drunk and drive. Well, we wouldn't drive. Her boyfriend would drive, whichever one it was that week. And we would drive around and we'd drive past people's houses. And if we didn't like them, we would scream out the window, we hate those people at like 2 a.m. in the country.
Yeah, that
Like,
was us too. Because there's no like Facebook. You couldn't like cyberbully someone. You had to actually like go to
yeah,
their
you
home.
actually like
like,
drive by
like,
their house and
yeah, it was like those tough days, man.
and knowing that they would probably kick your ass on Monday for
Oh,
daring
for
to
sure.
have a
Oh,
little
dude.
bravado because you had had too much 7 Up and Southern Comfort.
Yeah, also
I
that.
mean, she and I would get like this, the big jug of orange juice. We would get those and like the big gallon bottles of vodka, and we would dump half of the orange juice out, fill it with vodka, and then we would just sit there and shake it. I would shake those jugs like this, and that's what we would drink for the
Poor Alex is like, this sounds disgusting.
night. Poor
And it was.
Alex. Poor Alex. Oh,
Uh, 5 versus.
yeah,
Yeah, I
right.
mean, and that's the thing too. If I had a kid, like knowing, I wouldn't say I was the worst child in school, but like I was very good at lying and very good at going to parties and not getting caught. So like,
Yeah.
if I had a kid, God help that little bastard, like he wouldn't get away with nothing with me because I'd be like so watchful and so mean. that, like I'm
That's
just
the
like I'm like,
thing about sort of not having just having cats. Like all of my friends who are very like I had a friend who got on Facebook and was this has been a few years, but she was like, "Oh my God, I caught my kid drinking and blah blah blah. Where have blah blah blah?" Just got losing her mind because her kid, had been caught drinking. And I'm just
the
like,
first thing is they were
how? And
caught,
so
and
I
that's your
said,
kid's
and I'm like,
stupid. Like,
remind me again how old your kid is. And then,
mhm.
she's like, oh, he's 17. I'm like, oh, well, you're fine. Because remember when we were 15 and we were sneaking out and we were drinking and driving, and then we broke into that person's house and like
Yeah,
toilet papered their house inside, not the outside, the inside, while they were on, statute of limitations, I'm sure is over on that.
yeah.
Um, and let me just say, Amber Heard did not come up with that idea. I'm just saying. Like,
I know she was a
Amber
teenager
Heard
once upon a time.
did not come up with the idea of leaving a special surprise for somebody in their bed. Anyway,
Yeah.
so let's stop acting like she did something there. She's just copying more. She's just copying the more popular and successful people. But yeah. Uh, uh, uh.
I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, see, my parents were cool parents, so I would tell them, I'm going to go study with Christy so we can finish this biology, and then I go party. And then I would sneak in and pretend I hadn't been drinking, not because I would get in trouble for drinking, but because I didn't want my parents to think I was cool.
Yeah, mine were kind of like willingly ignorant, and they fully admitted it. And every now and then they would find out something like years later, like I'd be like wine drunk at Christmas kind of thing under the tree, and
Yeah,
they would
no,
sort of like
my
let something
mom,
slip. I'm like, remember that time you picked me up? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, drugs,
yeah,
drugs. They were like, what? I'm like,
no, no. See, my mom was Amy Poehler in Mean Girls. Like she was that
oh,
mom.
that was
She
a cool
wanted
mom.
you guys come over and drink here because that way I know you're not driving and it's safe. The first time I did, let's
God,
see. The first
yeah, that
time
was
I
one of my folks.
took a psychedelic trip to the nether regions, it was my mom was like, okay, so we're getting some stuff this weekend and you can't do it here. I don't want to know about it, but here you go.
Here
You're
you
in your
go.
20s, you should have this experience.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
that orange juice story, nobody ever thought they were a glass of orange juice. That's an urban legend. Be safe. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just find
And I
like,
was
yeah, my
like,
folks kind of didn't want to know, or they knew. I don't know. Like it's just but I think they were like just really naive, and that's fine because it made my job easier. But,
and then
like,
like my mom later, like, so I'm like, no, I didn't. I just gave it to my friend. In reality, I was called my friend. I'm like, hey, I need you to come over here and we'll split this. And then we just laughed. We just laughed a lot. But yeah, so yeah, my mom was the cool mom, so or she thought she wasn't cool. Like
yeah, well,
she wanted to be cool.
she tried to be.
Yeah. So R.I.P. mom. Like last week was the anniversary of her passing, so it's a weird time to
Mm.
sort of deal with the what was cool about your mom, but what was also not cool about your mom, and it's also weird. Anyway, getting old, death, visionaries.
Visionaries, life, death, visionaries.
That should be the tagline. Hasbro, if you're watching this, you can use
Yeah.
that for free. It's yours. Life, death, visionaries.
Well, I feel like maybe, I guess getting back to Visionaries, like
Oh yeah.
I think it is dead. I mean, like that's the thing. Like, Derek, you weren't here, but I mean, we were talking about how people don't know about it, and people don't like it, and so like I feel like when we were talking about Gem, there's a huge pot of cash there. Integrity Toys proved that. So like
Oh
if
yeah.
Hasbro did want to go and do Gem, it would do very well. But
Yeah.
Visionaries, it's not there. The money's not there, and even like people like Super Seven or NECA, they're not gonna
Mhm.
do it because there's not enough money. So like Ramen, I think is they teased it or they talked about it. I mean, I don't know. Like it's one guy doing
Yeah. Right.
14 characters. So I mean, God help you, but like that's truly the only option is just the third party. Like let's call it unofficial. Like,
I think my opinion with stuff like Visionaries and like some of the other sort of obscure like Supernaturals and
mhm.
um, there were a couple, especially Supernaturals, which also had the holographic sticker thing.
Which are
The toy
expensive.
companies really tried to make kids really like buying these holographic stickers. Let's make them into toys. It's like that. No,
No, that
sorry,
wasn't the
everybody,
point.
that's
Like,
not no no. But I
um,
think I've long thought that one, like even Hasbro should just do like a line called "I Love the '80s" or something like that, and just sort of do a couple waves every year, and then just cherry pick sort of the coolest characters or characters that didn't get done, and like the two ladies here. Like
yeah,
year one, I love the '80s, like a couple GI Joes that didn't get made in the vintage line as
Thanos.
O-ring, like so they can fit in with your vintage, and the same with this. Like you only
Yeah,
did the two ladies of the visionary line in that, so that way you're helping people close up these collections. There is cash to be made, and sort of that sort of move does get a little sort of good PR within toy communities where people, oh, they're going to do the two ladies from Visionaries. Let me look into, and then they see how much Visionaries cost. Because to get them,
mm,
like, you can get junker Visionaries pretty cheaply, but to get them mint on card in good condition, like, it's a
they're
little
expensive.
spendy.
Yeah, and they're like they all have a helmet, tiny little accessory, and then they're big
Yeah,
giant staff kind of thing. And they're brittle. Like they're brittle.
yeah.
Like they're like more than GI Joe. They're very brittle.
So,
So
yeah. So yeah, let's do we're gonna do this, guys. Watching this is for those of you who are just here to like listen to the smack talk. This is the official toy part of the video, and for those that are here for the coloring, I'm still coloring while we talk about this. So yeah, you
yeah,
can mute me
I've
and
all
just watch.
colors.
Yeah. Um. So here's when I was again, I didn't have any visionaries because the ladies didn't get made, and that was what dictated what toy lines I was into. Transformers, maybe cool. I don't know. No ladies.
No RC, no
GoBots.
no money.
I was 100% a GoBot girls because you had Pathfinder, Crasher, Sparky, Smallfoot, Spacey,
Yeah,
Vamp. Let's talk
they were like
about.
unapologetic about it.
Yeah, I've got somewhere a coloring book page of Vamp. Well, next time you come back, we'll color pictures of Vamp and talk about sexy vampire car space things.
I was Team
Um,
Crasher because she had lipstick, which I respect that.
I
Like
also
you're like
like
I'm evil, but little lipstick.
the implication that she and Leader One used to be romantically involved at one point. Like that was
And
sort of
then
suggested somewhere at one
it
point. I'm
was
just like,
suggested, but then like honestly, like like trigger warning, but like look up Go Bob rape scene and like on YouTube, and it's Crasher and Leader One, and it's not even subtle about what it's
yeah,
about. You're like, whoa,
right,
like what did she put in his butt? Like
yeah,
what happened
right.
there? Like what's the context of
Happened there.
this?
I have not watched that, but I know what I'm doing after stream now.
It's
Um,
oof, oof. It's
Crasher indeed, lady. We hardly knew ye. Um, she's got stuff she's crashing into every day, y'all. Um, but yeah, so Visionaries. My brother he had like the red one and the blue one, and and they originally they appealed to me when I saw them before I knew that there were no ladies because they were bright, they were colorful. The holographic sticker, I like shiny things, sparkly glitter. If
Mhm.
they had made them of glittery plastic, I probably would have broken the no ladies rule just because glitter. Like why we never got a Lisa Frank action figure line in the 80s, I will never know.
Honestly,
Anyway,
just dolphins everywhere.
you're right, like dolphins with like armor and stuff, but it's all rainbows and glitter. That,
Mhm.
ooh, yeah, that will be my Kickstarter toy line.
Yeah, if you're
Uh,
gonna do a Mad Hatter thing, just like
yeah,
Lisa Frank the series.
glitter girls, and it's all like action, like glitter power makeup. Anyway, for the power of glitter, lots of bubble. Like I'll just steal the Mattel bubble ideas that they never used for
Oh yeah,
Shira
like
Wave 3. But anyway, Visionaries. So my brother had them. I thought they were cool because they were bright and colorful, right? But then and the articulation was very similar to G.I. Joe.
yep.
And then they weren't in scale with G.I. Joe. And they weren't in scale with Motu. And they weren't in scale with anything that was in our house. They were a weird scale. So I think that
That
was
didn't
a
help.
problem.
Yeah, because the thing is too, once I actually like decided to go and try to get customs made, I'm like trying to find a head that would fit for
Yeah.
like it was like 4.5, 4.25 inch. Like it was just it's a
It
strange and
wasn't
it like
even in it
goes
wasn't
with
even
nothing.
in scale with like superpowers. So like it
No, it's a whole other thing completely.
and that's I think there's a big a lot of channels that do toy news when they talk about sort of lines, like failed toy lines. One of the things that often nobody talks about is scale. Like Golden Girl by Galoob is a good example, in my opinion. Like
Yep.
people are like, oh, well, it failed for this reason and that reason. It had no cartoon. It didn't help that Golden Girl was not in. It's sort of in scale with She-Ra. It's sort of in scale with He-Man, but not quite.
She's quite a bit taller than He-Man, although He-Man is crouched down. Like
Right.
Tila and Evil-Lyn are kind of like standing up straight. So like
But even
next
then,
to
like,
them, they're pretty tall. And that's the thing too,
yeah,
because I mean like if you didn't like the like just like the fruitiness of She-Ra, like you could have
yeah.
gone Golden Girl and be because they were like
Well,
boobs and armor and
Golden
evil
Girl
swords.
comes
Like they
across
were.
hardcore sword and sorcery. Like,
Oh
and I've
yeah,
been, like I've been doing the deep dive on like because I've been doing the shorts, but there's way more Golden Girl content in the future. Um,
yes.
and even sort of the storybooks and like the choose your adventure stuff that they released, it's a lot harder than like even He-Man was at it feels way more in line with like wave one He-Man.
Yeah, like
um
that dark artistry on the boxes where it was like
yeah,
bleak hellscape. I don't know,
yeah, like a
apocalypse
couple,
kind of thing. Like
yeah, and Golden Girl stuff, like reading it, it feels like like if He-Man had like journeyed across the sparkling sea or whatever, he could have been in Aragon, with Golden Girl, and it would have meshed.
and like Golden Girl is much more like in She-Ra. If there's like like a coloring book or like a storybook kind of thing, they're
Mhm.
like Catra's causing mischief, and you're like, oh, for God's sake. But like Golden Girl's like, we're gonna go kill that bitch
Yeah,
with
like
blood,
it's
like
one
she's
of
dead.
Dragon Lady cast a spell, which is the second storybook to color. She invites Golden Girl and the Gemstone Guardians to dinner, and her goal is to like poison them with like an ice spell. So like it's a lot harder. It's interesting, like if you look at the Shira Wave 1 mini comics, there are moments where it's darker than what it became.
Yep.
Filmation, of course, because of the whole, like oppression, fascism, destroy space Nazis. I mean, yeah, no, the hordes from space. Um,
Mhm.
there was a great potential for it to be darker, but Filmation didn't like to do dark. Like they wanted,
Yeah, they had very dark themes, but like everyone's in tutus and like hurting each other's feelings, and you're like,
yeah.
punch a
So
Nazi,
it's
like just
yeah,
punch a Nazi,
right.
please.
Where like if you go back and Shira Wave 1, the mini comic Journey to Mizar is like, in my opinion, like perfect. Like it's got the whimsy and sort of the sparkleness that you sort of expect of She-Ra, like, you know, the holographic glitter belts and like sparkly capes and stuff, but also there's a little darkness there, and there's Catra has evil Catra actually does more than just try to be mischievous. Like, she's actually trying to
Mhm.
take over a kingdom, and she's releasing her evil cat birds, and like there's dark magic. Like, you know, the first 2 or 3 mini comics, Catra is an actual threat. And then you can tell where they realize they need to course. There's the Mystery of the Blue Diamond, I think it is, the Frostic mini comic. Catch is actually awful in it. She kidnaps Frosta, steals her coat, tries to freeze Etheria forever.
Took my
It's
coat.
it's Bo has to like
I was
save
in
the
coat
day.
check. It was -40. I was cold and
Yeah,
drunk. I
right.
need to get
Well, then
home.
there's a panel
Stole
in
my
it with like
coat.
Frosta like tied up to a stalagmite with like Catra wearing her coat laughing. Like,
I
Bo
have
has
seen
to
this. Yeah.
shoot the diamond into the sun to save it from going dark forever. It's pretty. There's some good stuff. She-Ra Wave 1.
Mhm.
It's just unfortunate that they went they moved away from that, and I think some of the fans who have sort of the negativity around sort of She-Ra making He-Man, you know, like it made He-Man too girly or whatever. I think if they had stuck closer to that Wave 1, that hint of the darkness in the middle of it, I think it would have done better, sort of long
Yeah.
term. And that's the thing about Golden Girl. I think it just hit too hard at a time where people didn't quite know how to do that with the quote unquote girls line, but also it was out of scale. So I think if it had perfectly meshed with your She-Ra figures, if it had perfectly meshed with Masters of the Universe, I think Golden Girl would have lasted longer. And I think that's, again, it goes sort of, it's a long sort of point to get to the Visionary thing. I think if Visionaries had even been in scale with G.I. Joe, I think it
Yep.
would have hit harder and better, because then you could exchange stuff. And
And that's the
so,
thing. I mean, like, I find with my collecting, like, I don't. I'm not a Super 7 apologist, but I tend to buy a lot of Ultimates just because the bulk of my collection is Masters Classics from like a
yeah,
couple years ago. So like it just fits in there.
right,
And then likewise, like if I do buy Hasbro stuff like Marvel Legends, X-Men, I do like 91 X-Men. So if I have comic book stuff, I'm like, I'd rather it's 6 inch just so I could, or like Street Fighter kind of thing. Like I'm glad Jade is doing 6 inch Street Fighter because that could go with the X-Men. Like there's
yeah,
just certain things that I'm like, I've heard like things to group together. And likewise, I think Derek mentioned just not long ago, like if Hasbro did like a 6 inch gem line, I think that'd be incredible. Like it would go great with classified, um with something like that. And likewise, I mean, Visionaries, what else they got? Centurions, I think was Hasbro.
yeah.
There's a bunch of stuff around that time where like they could have,
At the
you do a best of kind of series basically.
yeah, where you know, and there, and again, this is, you know, like current state of the toy industry, but like there used to just really be this concerted effort. It felt like for them to try new stuff, and like Visionaries would never get made today because, you know, like it's not something being I mean, it in theory could because it exists, but like we're not seeing any sort of attempts at new toy lines or new cartoons, or nobody's
Yeah,
trying to make the next. Nobody at the big toy companies. So it's like
they're
it
kind of
gets
risk averse. Yeah, like they're like we got Transformers and Barbie, and that's it. We got
I
like
think,
things
yeah.
that work.
Well, you know, and the thing, and I think in some ways Barbie is quote unquote to blame because it's Barbie. But I think people don't, even Mattel, I think misses the point sometimes of what Barbie is, because Barbie changes every generation for that generation of kids.
Yep.
Like, I've, you know, because the coloring books, you know, Barbie's never had an actual like cartoon series, even in the 80s. There were a couple specials that they did for Barbie and the Rockers.
Hmm.
Um, but she's never had like a regular, you know, at the height of the 80s when you have to have a cartoon. Barbie didn't have a cartoon.
She had
Um,
killer commercials, but like she didn't need it.
she didn't, but also like a big part of the marketing was the coloring books. And it's like, it's funny because Barbie coloring books have like 3 or 4 of the same stories. from 1963 is the earliest one that I've acquired through like the 90s. It's like um Barbie wakes up, she starts her day, and through the course of her day, like she joins a rock band, she becomes a model, she's world famous, she has to tour the
Damn.
country. Like the superstar era, she gets up and goes to school. Oh my goodness, there's a singing competition, and she sings so well at this high school singing competition. She signs a contract and gets to go to New York and tour the world. And that was like
Yeah, and
1978.
yeah, and I always found like whenever I'd see stuff like that, I'm like, this is so pedantic. It's just
Yeah,
it's
but
difficult to read.
like all these old Whitman and Golden Book coloring books just recycle the same two or three Barbie stories. They just update it for every generation. So,
Yeah, whatever's
girls
out there
of the
hawking.
girls of the 70s, like, oh, supermodel and disco and like this is what we want. And we all know now the only reason Barbie and the Rockers happened was to like Deep Six.
Gem,
Yeah, right.
which
So
is so shady. I loved it. I love
it
that
is
story.
so shady, and especially because Gem is really. This is sad as somebody who has spent a lot of time this year with Barbie and the Rockers and Gem, making content from them and sort of figuring, because there's a lot of affection for the Barbie and the Rocker. That's the first time I remember as a kid really thinking, oh, Barbie is not cool, because it was really clear it's like your mom thinks this is what rock music is, whereas Gem felt like this is what music is. Like
Well,
Gem
that's
was your mom does rock and roll. Like
yeah,
Tipper Gore like approved the Barbie and the Rockers.
yeah.
She might have
Gem
had
was
some
more
problems.
like Gem was strange too because like she was kind of foisted upon us because she was in that like that primo Saturday or Sunday morning block. Like usually the girls like Strawberry Shortcake, even Care Bears, like the gender neutral stuff was in
Yeah,
early morning.
yeah,
But like between like 9 to 12, like they were just all like, "Hey, here's." I think it was. I think it was like Centurions, Gem, and Visionaries, or
yeah,
Inhumanoids, or one of those kind of thing. But they were like, "If you want to watch the next one, you have to sit there and watch Gem." And you were like, "Well, I guess I will. It's not gay if I have to." Like it's that kind of mentality. But
yeah.
like every
Right.
little boy watched it. Every little boy watched Gem, and
Well, and
everyone
it's
like
funny
they had a favorite.
how many grown adult men from our Gen X and elder millennial generation now openly adore Gem because they were forced, quote unquote, forced to watch those cartoons.
Yeah,
And like the toy line obviously was all about like you should buy all these clothes for Gem and her friends. And although the cartoon had that superhero out, which, like looking back, I'm like, why would they do that? But at the time, giving her the secret identity, like all the superhero side of the Gem stuff makes sense because it's a format kids understand.
yeah. And it was like fantasy, wish fulfillment, all that stuff kind of thing, where it's like you
Yeah,
could be anyone kind of thing, thanks to synergy. And
yeah,
it's an
it's
interesting show. And they didn't rely. They had like like an old house full of orphans, which is kind of
I
dark.
know,
But
like the little
all your
orphan.
parents are dead. But
That's the biggest what the F for me whenever I, started really watching them as an adult, as I started making, doing color, because often I'll have Gem episodes when I'm coloring a Gem page.
yeah,
It helps get me into the mood. Or I'm watching ToyTube. Or true crime. It's Gem true crime, or because it takes longer than the 20-30 minutes of a Gem episode. Um,
mm.
But like the orphan thing is a real what? What is this even? Like the whole
There's a lot of dead parents in the show, and it's kind of surprising once you actually like kind of stop and take stock of it all.
yeah.
It's
There's a and there was a whole like season 4. It turns out that Eric is like a serial killer who's going around killing everyone's parents so he can turn them into rock stars without having to deal with Mrs. Brooke Shields' mom people. I mean, he probably would have done well with Mrs. Brooke Shields now that all those stories are coming out, but still. No stage moms. But yeah, it's interesting, like just how many, because of the way they situated Gem. And Gem is another one where it's like when you watch the retrospect videos, it makes sense partly why the toy line didn't do as well, because they were a little bit more expensive. They are out of scale with Barbie. I mean,
Yeah,
like I sort of name check that in my large size Princess Leia video. There were no clothes for Leia. She wasn't. You couldn't just go buy Barbie outfits. You couldn't. Maybe you
yeah,
sort
that's sort
out
of
some old dusty outfits, but
it's kind of
otherwise, like
Jem's problem too was that like she was sort of just a rock star, whereas Barbie's all like, I'm a nuclear psychiatrist, like whatever. Like she could be anything, like
I think people
anything.
would have been fine with just the rock star thing because Gem was cool enough and colorful enough. I think it was the price point um and it's funny because the body of that is the same one that Kenner used for Darcy doll. It's the same. The first buck they used for Gem is that they basically bought that buck and used that for the Gem doll. So if you have old Darcy clothes, those would fit Gem.
Hmm.
They didn't use that body. Kenner didn't use that body for Leia, which makes no sense because it was it was more posable than the male figures, so that's probably what it was. But I think, but again, that's I think a big part of why the large size Kenner line failed was those figures weren't compatible with anything else on the line. You couldn't put Ken clothes on Luke and Han, and Kenner was so hyper focused on the 3 3/4 figures that they sort of
I
missed,
don't
like what the 12-inch line could have been.
I don't really get the 12-inch line of anything because I know like there's Star Wars early on,
Mhm.
and then of course G.I. Joe was like probably the first, and again too like that it starts off as a doll. I know they wanted to be
Yeah,
like it's an action figure, but it's like it was a doll.
it was a doll.
Um, but Star Wars did, but then funny enough, like Power of the Force 2 in the 90s, like Star Wars did that again. Star Trek did it with Playmates. Like there's all
At
this sort of like
least,
Batman did it. Like, and it's the thing where like, and now Hot Toys or
yeah,
stuff like that, where I'm like, it's a doll. Like there is a differentiation.
right. Well, it is interesting because Hasbro, when they, Hasbro slash Kenner did it with Powers of the Force too. They at least corrected the issue with the first. I think it also helped that everyone had slept on the original large size figure line, and even when Power of the Force 2 hit, there was a lot of the spendier items if you wanted a vintage collection at that point were the large size figures.
Yeah.
Even then, because they, um, but I think it's sort of the scale it's the same thing that killed the Star Wars micro collection in the 80s. The scale is different. There was nothing else you can mix and match it with, and those were little fucking boring action figures that didn't move.
They
They were
were
just little statues.
and they yeah, like they were stuck in this one weird, like very awkward, weird position. That's it. I love that thing. I loved it so much. Like
Yeah,
so much. Like the thing is like the micro collection, every time there's like a HasLab for Star Wars, I'm all like, I'm the jerk in the comments. I'm all like, do the Star
right.
Wars micro collection Death Star, make it
Yeah,
big. Like
do
it's
one,
perfect.
right?
It's perfect.
Oh, I liked them as a kid. It was just they were pre-posed, so you could only do limited stuff with them. Character
Yeah.
selection was garbage. You could only get figures if you bought play sets or ships or whatever. Whereas when Galoob did the action fleet is like, in my opinion, the perfect way to deliver a line like that.
Yep.
I
Which
went
was great. And that's the thing
deep
too,
on
like
the
I
action
don't know
fleet.
if they were compatible or not. I remember always thinking that like I wanted to go
They weren't.
they weren't crap because I was like, because I wanted to do the Cloud City micro
Yeah.
collection, but they
No,
didn't
even
have any Leias, and I'm like, does Galoob have one?
the
Like,
Galoob micro collection, like their version of the micro collection, they were in the same scale. But the problem is they were like the Glue Micro Machines version was plastic, and they weren't as. But
well
the
painted.
problem with the Kenner one was that the paint on those chipped all the time, so your figures looked like garbage. Anyway, really quick in chat. Sorry, chat. We're sort of ignoring you, but not on purpose. Payne, lovely to see you today. Nolan was here. I don't know if he's still here. Let me get. There's Nolan right there. Hello, Nolan. Largo is here. And yeah, I think Gem and Visionaries is one they
How many
could sort
holograms?
of cross over in a cool way because synergy like lends themselves. Um,
Yeah, she'd be like giving Merklin the WhatsApp.
uh,
What am I looking?
Exactly. Christy Marks did some great stuff. And then
Yep.
Kid Video, I wanted to highlight that was a cartoon that should have had a toy line in the 80s. Yeah. So some good stuff happening in comments. Sorry guys, it's just, Andrew and I are having fun. But
I'm just
yeah.
trying to make sense of water swirls. It's so complicated.
Oh, I did it as if it were lava. No, I'm really quickly. Let's show the people what we're doing. So, Andrew, how's your picture coming?
It's coming. I did the ladies first because, like, I don't know how much time
Yeah,
I
right.
take probably a lot more time than you do. So I'm like, let's get the main event going.
No, that's fine. And then, oh wait, right, that's where I missed. Okay, here we are. And there, yeah. See, I did mine as if it were lava and it was a molten pit. So
Again, someone's gonna die.
hopefully,
Your fish powers want to help you now.
yeah, right. Your powers of your weird widow peak hair isn't going to help you.
It's also kind of the
Vorilia.
sucky thing, like where everyone's like a lion or like some, like a pterodactyl or like just some
Yeah,
rando whatever kind of thing, and then it's like you're fish. You're like if
you're a doll.
you're in a desert, you're like, well, we're useless here.
Yeah, it's a little. And Virilia Lena,
Virulina.
Virus Girl, is
Mhm.
she's a shark, right?
Yeah, at least. Like at
Yeah,
least. Like,
she's a
at least
shark,
you're a useful fish. But then they're like, I
right?
remember too, like it's in the episode where it's a long episode. And again, too, there's a lot of information, but then on top of that, like Merklin sits there for the last like half of it and just exposites like, here's what your powers and here's the rules and here's during your trials, here's one thing you did that made me think of this animal and that's who you are kind of thing. And it's just strictly these two women fought by the water and he's like, you fish. But because Virulina was an asshole, he's like, you're a shark. And then he looks into Galadriel and he's like, well, you're kind of smart, I guess. So you're a dolphin. And she's like, thanks. Like, my sexy dolphin? Like, what the hell?
Right? Aren't all dolphins a little sexy?
A little sexy.
Little
A
sexy.
little slippery.
I used to date a guy who would have these dreams about being a dolphin, and then I'm like, my dream book says that means you're gay.
Right.
My dream book may have been correct. So.
Yeah, I've had too many dolphin dreams, thankfully.
Well, yeah, but you're not repressed, so there you are.
Also, this gay thing, it's just for clicks. Like, it's
Yeah, right.
completely fraudulent.
You're a total het. Anyway,
That's me.
yeah, sure. I
Yeah,
believe
once I
it's
get a
believable.
Patreon, then you'll find out the truth behind a paywall.
OnlyFans is just you like burning dinner. I don't know how to cook.
Yeah, honestly,
Watch me take out the trash.
this is me doing my taxes.
As one does on the internet. All right. I'm trying to. I'm looking for the perfect purple and the perfect mulberry. It's mulberry is what I'm looking for. And I'm just trying to figure which box mulberry is in. Because my free range mulberry was used.
We've got some chatter on dolphins, which I find interesting.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's check out the dolphin talk. Let's get it more gay and more.
I couldn't get more gay here.
Interesting. I watched that
Sounds
movie.
like a Lisa Frank girl.
Poor Lisa Frank. Oh, if you want to see some darkness, watch some of the Lisa Frank deep dives on the internet.
I have, yeah. She's it wasn't her, but it's like her company got real dark real quick.
But it also sounds like she's totally like the oh, that's just man's work, whatever. And then she's like super shady. So
Yeah, true.
exactly, it's a different kind of flipper figure.
Yeah, the rapey dolphins is also a YouTube search you should do. It's funny, but not like it's a weird
It's
one.
like funny is in the way that if you don't laugh, it's it's the Carrie
Yeah,
Fisherism.
it's
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 not funny, it's
existentialism. You're
just
like, oh,
true.
you're like. I mean, it's
If
much
it's
like I
not
say it
funny,
often where I'm from, I wouldn't say like the country, like like we had paved roads, like but I mean the country, like wolves,
yeah,
bears,
right,
all that stuff, far enough away that like we try to make it look suburban, but like nature wanted you dead. And
right.
I have all these friends who like want to go camping and get back to nature, and I'm like, I don't know what you think nature is, but like it wants to murder you. Like just fun facts. Like I don't know what
Every time, yeah, like
romanticism you have, but like it's awful.
anytime city folk are like, "Oh my god, camping is so much fun." I'm like, I don't camp if it's not at a campsite that has like actual shower available and
Yeah, like
plumbing.
water, Wi-Fi,
I'm like,
like
"Oh my
no
god, that takes away from the beauty of camping." I'm like, "Look, I am not gonna shit in the bushes and like
in a
hope,
hole. Like,
hope that the toilet paper doesn't fail me because I always forget to pack toilet paper and the convenience store closest to the campsite has that cheap ass single ply.
yeah, $12.
Like I need the option that if this goes awry with this one ply that I can just jump into the shower and pretend none of this ever happened, Carl.
Yeah, I'm
But
like I'm big into camping, but also like because I'm like mosquitoes, I'm very sweet. Mosquitoes love me, and I don't like I whenever we're camping, everyone's like, "Oh, the mosquitoes aren't bad tonight," and they are everywhere on me. I'm like, I'm the
yeah,
reason. I'm
yeah,
I'm the
your
problem.
blood
It's me.
is you're so sweet that they're like, oh my god, let me eat all of the sugar out of you.
Or it's just
Um,
I don't know about.
I had a
Um,
friend one time who was like, "We should go to Burning Man," and I'm just like, "No."
mm,
And he was
nor.
like, and he's going on about how great it is, but then he stops and he's like, "But it's so corporate now." He's like, "There are people who actually bring RVs with like air conditioning and running water," and I'm like, "Wait, wait, run that
Those are
part
my
back
friends. Yep.
again." I'm like,
I have like
okay,
those rich
wait."
friends who go, and they're
I'm
like,
like,
yeah, it
okay.
is lamping for sure.
I'm like, all right, I might do that. And they were just horrified. I'm like, I don't. We have evolved for a reason. It said that I don't have to shit in the woods.
Yeah, I don't. It's also kind of the thing where like I I get where they're coming from because I know like talking about like my youth and being a little
Yeah.
bit of a wild child like during the rave days kind of thing. I mean like that was kind of the part of the charm was that like it was in like an abandoned warehouse with like just rusty nails everywhere and like no running water and all that. So
Yeah, the whole part where you don't know if it's a normal
like it's
rave
OSHA
or
like
serial
yeah
killer rave where like you all disappear and like it was on this
yeah
in
that's
1997 where
that was the charm. Like I mean that's why we went. And now
right,
and that, the other thing too like the cops were like always ready to like shut it down. So like there were always backup locations in case the first one got shut down.
and you're like,
But
hey, here's an
now
egg. Here's an egg. The egg, when you crack it, will have the secret location of the backup party.
100%, or like say like purple banana, some guy in a Jetta, this parking lot, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
like, but now like yeah, like people say like, oh, we're going to a rave, and I'm like, you bought tickets, and like, you're like, you have water there, like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, the first rave I went to, my friend was like explaining it to me. I'm like, that doesn't sound like it was on 90210. He's like, yeah, yeah, no, like you buy
No,
tickets now and like there are outhouses that actually don't have like, like dead bodies in them. I'm like, come in.
like no thanks.
And then it got rained on and it was muddy and gross, but I did have a pink fuzzy cowboy hat, so it worked out.
That was the uniform of the hoe back then.
Pretty much. I was just like, I didn't wear that. I didn't own one. It's like, you don't own that. And then you get
Like
to the
take it
rave
from
and you
someone
see
else.
7 other hoes in it. And you're like, I want to be, yeah. You're like, buy me one of those. And then, no, wait, will you buy me one of those? They're so cute. And then, like, you have, like, and they're the 4 random dudes who heard you say that. So you have, like, 7 of them. So you just get to, like, circulate through the hats all night.
Yeah, different colors.
Yeah, you're like, I said pink, and this is Oh, but the blue is so. Oh my God! Look at the colors. It's so pretty.
This is periwinkle. Take it back.
Nobody likes periwinkle. Oh my
Trash.
God,
Get out
that's
of
not
here.
your name. That's not your name, ma'am. You changed your name to Periwinkle, didn't you? Yes, but it's pretty. It's important to me. It's stupid. Anyway, I did know a girl who changed her name to Periwinkle.
Oh god. I mean,
Yeah.
I would go Max Powers, obviously. Like
Oh
the name you want to touch. Okay, it's got like a very loud passive aggressive sigh from my dog. I'm like,
no.
is your day
Poor
going roughly?
dog. Your poor dog.
What do we got? Ted's.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah, no, like, and that's the thing too. The cabins, like, cabins are cute. Cabins are cute. I can deal with a cabin,
Exactly.
but
Yeah. Yeah. I just, like, if I'm gonna go in the woods and possibly be murdered, I want it to be in a cabin, and I want there to be some water so that at least before, like, I die via dude with a machete and a hockey mask, that at least like there were some comforts, you know.
mhm. Yeah,
I want
no,
it to, you know.
I don't need to like live like I don't know. I mean, that's the thing too. They'll say like, it's again, it's sort of that back to nature thing. Where like we need to like eat like caveman. I'm like, they had a life expectancy of like maybe 12 years. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know what you think like this means.
it's like every time, like I run it, I run into that a lot because like I live on diets. It's the only way I stay less than showboat size. Um, thanks
The trick is
metabolism.
cocaine.
Um,
Cocaine keeps you skinny.
yeah, right. I miss the '80s when we could just do cocaine and like
Mhm.
you never ate, but you were fabulous all the time, and
Yep.
in some silver lame.
Weed
I
abs all
really
the time.
miss silver lame. I had a
Mm.
silver lame shirt that I was relentlessly teased about the one day I wore it to school, but that's okay. I wore it all the time at home. And yeah. Anyway, speaking of getting dark, but but yeah, every time somebody's like, "Oh, we need to eat like this," it's like calorie deficit and exercise is not going to make you lose weight. Exercise is to keep you healthy. If you lose some weight, then great, but don't exercise to lose weight because then you're eating too many calories. Like,
Yeah, there's sort of, I mean, the gays have like, there's two seasons in gay world where it's like bulking and cutting, and bulking is winter,
yeah,
well, mostly like early winter where it's like you're eating like a full chicken a day and just going to the gym. And, granted, doing a lot of steroids, granted.
yeah, yeah,
And then cutting is like as we get into Pride season, then it's like I have tissue paper and water every day.
yeah.
Just one, just one.
And that's why all of your metabolisms keep tanking every
Oh
winter.
yeah, liver damage beyond compare.
And then you end up with that extra layer of fat that just never leaves.
Yeah, because your body just
It's,
doesn't even know how to react anymore.
it's
But I
like
mean, that's like,
the lingering cloud of shame around your waist.
well, especially as you get older. God.
Yeah, yeah. That was like when my mom hit 50. She was like, "I'm no longer 98 pounds." I'm like, "Mother, you're 50 and you have had a complete hysterectomy, and the hormonal things that happen to your body at that
Yeah.
age anyway, like you're gonna be a little thick, ma'am. Look at the other women in our family. None of us are gonna be skinny minis after 42. I never was, much to her yeah, let's not
Shame.
talk. I'm trying to be kind toward my mom this week, and I'm not going to talk about all of the eating disorders that live in my head because of her. But
That was also like a kind of a Gen X mom thing too, where it's like they all had the fad diets, the everything was light or
oh,
diet or whatever. Like
and the
there's just so much
cabbage
of that.
soup diet, the AIDS gum. Remember AIDS gum? I
God,
was
yeah.
probably the only 10-year-old that had a
The
mouthful. Had a
and the
mouthful of
commercial was
AIDS.
like not even like the commercial knows what it's doing, right? Like what like another
Oh yeah,
recommendation, watch the AIDS gum commercial. They're like they're talking about AIDS, yeah? Like they
yeah,
know they're
right,
doing it, yeah. Like
right. Yeah, right. I had a mouthful of AIDS at 10, which it doesn't go over well now. You have to remember, oh wait, no, it was a gum. It was gum. It
Gum,
wasn't
gum.
my childhood wasn't that bad at 10.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, it's just fun, like South Beach, Atkins. I've done it
Mhm.
all. And it's like you lose a little bit at first, but the only thing that has successfully helped me keep it off is a calorie deficit and eating sensibly. And I say this is we ordered Popeyes last night because I literally have had that week where it's like I cannot even throw sandwiches together for us. Somebody's gonna bring food to this house and it's gonna be so many calories that I hate myself tomorrow.
Yeah, that was me yesterday with the hangover. So
Yeah. The thing is, though, it's been so long since I ate fast food. I was expecting to have some dietary concerns today. None. What was really interesting was I felt completely full and didn't eat again. Like we did that at like
yeah,
4 o'clock yesterday. I usually do snacks every 2 or 3 hours. And it was interesting. I ate all of that sort of fast food, all this evil calories and stuff after a day of basically, low cal. And I felt really good. Like I was happy. I felt satisfied. I didn't eat again until
yeah. Like I
cereal
mean,
this morning. So
yeah. There's like, especially during the pandemic, like I was often hungover on Saturdays. So like McDonald's was the breakfast
yeah,
was constantly coming every Saturday morning kind of thing. And but I mean, like I would skip lunch because I'm like I'm full and I'm satisfied and I'm happy for the entire day. But
yeah,
meanwhile, if I'm like eating healthy, I'm like I'll just nibble on nuts or
yeah,
berries or whatever for like all day, like an obscene amount. And I'm like, this isn't good
yeah.
for me.
Nuts are full of fat.
Stupid nuts.
Think about that next time you have a mouthful of nuts, people. How much fat are you about to consume? How much fat is filling your mouth with all these
How
nuts?
think about your self-respect.
Right, think of your self-respect tomorrow. 1 or 2 nuts in your mouth is fine. Once you get to 3 or more, it's probably time to reconsider your choices.
You're-
Oh my gosh. I apologize to anybody watching this tomorrow. Oh yeah, no. I would have done far
Oh, for
worse if
sure.
I would have been like, I'm gonna make my normal garden salad and the crock pot chicken I do that's like 57 calories for my portion of chicken. Like that would have been the worst thing. I just needed to eat some fat and I felt better.
Yeah, I do
I
like.
had a oh sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, it's like I was remember like talking like I go to my doctor maybe once a year just to be like, hey,
Yeah.
still alive, just so you know, like keep
So
your records up to date. But like yeah, last time I went, he's very much someone who like is kind of generous with the prescription pad. So like I walk in there being like I'm suicidal, I want this and that and the other. Like I want like mood
yeah.
enhancing drugs. Like and he's like you're lying. I'm like. "Eh." But then I'm like, okay, well, if I can't have that, how about Ozempic? And he's like, no, you need to like put down the fork and exercise more. And I'm like, okay,
What?
like you know what? You know what? Like I don't
That's not
come here
how
for
it
this
works,
attitude.
doctor man. Because we don't know, and that's the thing. Every time somebody's like, you should exercise more, don't worry about calories. It's like, sir, we do not know how many calories you actually burn when you're exercising. We just know that you
No,
burn some. And if you're exercising to burn calories, then you're more likely to exercise badly or over exercise. Stop.
there's also like between your digestion, your stomach, your like everything. Like there's, it's hard to say what works for you because
Everyone's
there's a lot of different
metabolism
factors.
is
Like,
different. If you're postmenopausal lady, um, there are some hormonal things that will make calorie deficits harder, but it also makes exercising harder. So,
mm,
the end of the day, be fucking kind to yourself and do your best.
oh, we're
And
so
if you eat an
inspirational.
entire sheet cake during the pandemic, you needed that sheet cake because the pandemic sucked.
I didn't do the sheet cake, but I did. It was my birthday, and for what like I'm like early May. It's coming. Um, but for whatever reason, like in my town, every May, like it was like everything was starting to open. We're like, yeah, there's gonna be bars. We're gonna be able to go to the patio. It's gonna be great. And every single year, like the day before my birthday, they're like, nah, we're locking down again.
Sorry.
So one year
Sorry.
I ordered like a $200 like erotic cake, and I ate that whole thing
Ooh.
like that one night, just big boobs cake, and it was
I
fantastic.
I went through a phase during the pandemic where like instead of like normally our grocery orders every 2 weeks.
Mm,
Yeah, it makes sense. It's about right. Um, and during pandemic, I really leaned into having it delivered for obvious reasons.
yeah.
Um, and I've stuck with that. And I also get it delivered direct. I don't use like oh god, Instacart. I don't use like it's like directly from the store that we get it delivered. And but during the pandemic it was Instacart because I didn't realize then they were garbage. But so we were doing it every week and I was just like sheet cake was coming every week and like a gallon of ice cream and
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't eat on it all week because literally it arrived on Friday and Saturday I woke up and started the coffee and I just ate sheet cake and ice cream all day.
That's the
Because
dream.
like it's in the early part of it when we didn't know what the hell was going on because I was just like, I
Oh
am
yeah,
not
like
dieting, I am not calorie counting, I am not.
the world might end. So like I'd be going down. The only time I would leave the house is to take the wine bottles down to the recycling bin, and it was like often, like
Yeah,
more than once a day. And I'm like, I have a problem.
yeah. My it's like my life insurance covers a really good coffin, and I'm gonna get the biggest ever. I'm in my
Literally.
showboat phase, and it's gonna be a giant mass. I want 17 trees to die to make this.
Yeah, I want
'Cause
I
if
want
I'm
others to be
growing, I'm
jealous.
taking the
Like,
environment with me.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, um, and once we realized it wasn't that dire, I was kind of like, maybe I shouldn't have leaned so hard into my showboat phase. But I will say that it helped me get my act together health wise. Just giving up and not worrying about it for like that period of time because once I realized how much of my life was consumed by like and how much more I ate when I ate. Well, I mean, eating an entire sheet cake, that's a lot of calories. But when
Too
I
much.
broke down what I actually ate through the course of that day, it was less than on days where I was calorie counting. I was like, because I wasn't
Yeah.
stressed. It wasn't like, oh, I didn't finish, sheet cake meal breakfast still hungry. I ate as much sheet cake as I wanted until I was full. And I'm like, okay, wait, this is something here. Like, how
There
do
were
we,
so
and
many things
so now,
with the pandemic. There's so many things that like once we actually had like time to stop and think
yeah,
and sit in our feelings, kind of thing. Like there's like I mean I my tolerance for small talk has sort of gone downhill. Where like I come to work Monday morning and everyone's like, "How's your weekend?" I'm like, we're not doing that. You
no,
don't want to know, and I don't want to talk about it. So, like, if I told you what my weekend was, you'd shit yourself. So,
yeah,
no, we're
right.
not doing that. And then likewise with food, with body, with like just yourself, you're like spend a lot of time alone with me and my dog. I think we know each other pretty well by now. So,
Right. No, it was me and Matt and the cats, and like Matt had to leave because his job was considered essential
mm,
because he was working at a market at the time, and but it was just like I have a lot of there were a lot of times where I would go hang out with people and didn't want to, but would do it because I felt this obligation,
yep.
and sort of the freedom of not even having to say no has made it really easy on this side of it to just be like, yeah, and that sounds like a lovely time. I'm not going to that, but you have fun. It's not you, it's me. I'm just, and the YouTube, ironically, the YouTube thing helps because, um, to me, this is very social. Like you and I are getting to hang out. We're getting to.
Hmm.
It's not really small talk. It's sort of, yeah. I don't know. It's sort of my introvert person with just a sprinkle of extrovert getting away to like be my true self.
Yeah, it's a strange thing where it's not the same kind of like parasocial if it's like someone who like you follow on Instagram and you're like we're soulmates. Like it's not
Yeah,
that, but
right.
it's like it's a funny thing where it's like say you and I or Kayla or like even like some of the other like toy tubers kind of thing. Like it's the
Yeah,
people that were like I know you and I know things about that things that you shared,
yeah,
but you and I have not had the same conversation. So like we don't have actually even like the same starting point kind of thing. But just because of like the way it works, you kind of just dive in. You just dive into these kind of like friendships, and you're like almost as if it's like someone you knew from like your hometown, where like you're
yeah.
like, hey, like what's new? Like you just pick up where you left off, and it doesn't really you don't really need to go through this whole like motions kind of thing. So it's
Well,
it's
yeah,
it's
like
weird but nice.
it. Well, and there's also the whole like there, and like anyone who wants to disagree with me,
Fight me in the backyard afterwards.
yeah, right. And Brick is here. How was everybody's weekend? Thanks, Brick.
Frick.
Um,
I'll tell you one thing before we get.
yep, sorry.
I wanted to go to. Oh God, Kevin's toy show up north, and it
Yeah.
was too far away, and I couldn't make it in time and do this. So I'm like a bad person.
Aw,
But
no.
anyway, yeah,
Um,
you're gonna fight someone.
yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, in real life, there's this thing where it's like people sort of expect you to be like vulnerable or like open and overshare or whatever, and it's weird because there are things I share on the internet that I would never tell people in my day-to-day life.
Oh yeah.
And some of those people watch these, so like they're gonna know. So like,
Yeah, really.
Tiffany,
It's
I'm
just
sure
so scared. You can tell me anything.
there's a message from Tiffany like waiting for me in Facebook Messenger, like, oh my God, you didn't mean me, did you? Even though you said I didn't, like Tiffany, you're still paranoid all these years later. It's not you.
Yep. Calm down,
Um,
Tiffany.
it was a fictional Tiffany. Anyway, but it's easier because it's like, but you also, you get to choose. There's no
Yep.
like, this person is gonna, like in real life, when people, especially if you're like, say, dating, there's this expectation of like vulnerability, openness, whatever you want to call it, that I don't like. Nobody gets sort of access that way. And I know that sounds, what was it my ex used to call me? A bitch? No, the other one. Scarce. He used to refer to it as me practicing scarcity for no good reason. It's like people don't need to know everything.
No, I did like I was more like I was called aloof a lot kind of thing, where it's just sort of
Yeah,
like very like I'm very introverted, but I can sort of pretend to be an extrovert and I can sort of play the game really
yeah,
well. But if you wanted to like and that, like mean like to actually like if you knew anything about me, you'd be like, no, that's not not accurate at all.
yeah, right.
Um,
You know,
but no, like something like this too, where it's like I think like I mean like just we know each other like in the sense that we're kind of on the same page on some certain topics. We're very
yeah,
passionate about certain topics. Like we actually try some artistic endeavors in those regards kind of thing. So it's like it's just sort of easier in that regard.
yeah. Well, it's like we know we. The nice thing is like and plus I mean I followed you on Instagram before we had ever. I remember the first time Kayla said you were going to be on one of the Geekly F Out streams. I'm like, oh my God, finally. We get
Do
to,
some
like,
interneting.
yeah, we get to see who this person is that does these cool posts about all the M.I.A ladies. And
I
I
was
think you ended up in my feed because I followed Adam Shira, who, like I've got one of his lookies and some of
mhm,
his accessories. And through
yep.
one of those, like you ended up in my feed because of sort of you also have, I think, collected some of his stuff.
Yeah, I think of
Um,
his Madame Raz.
yeah, so you do. I didn't want to call that out because then it sounds stalkerish, but that was how you ended up in my Instagram feed, was because you had interacted with one of his posts and then it suggested one of your posts and then you started doing M.I.A ladies and I'm like, these are my
This is it.
people.
I
Yeah.
I kind of like I'm sort of like I'm a little oblivious to the toy like the YouTube world. I think it was actually like it's probably Geeked Out Life where it's like I started watching
Yeah.
the live streams and I was sort of like I would sort of see the same people over and over again and I'm all like, okay, some of these people are funny, so like I'll go and follow them.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just mean, but people like to say, "Oh, you're so fun." I'm mean, but it's all right. I
yeah,
know my
there's
shit.
a you look sure.
It's the Gotham. Hey, did you watch Gotham at all?
Like
The
the
TV
live
show?
action show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you remember the episode where Selena is all like, "Oh my God, I'm such a bad person" or whatever, and Bruce
Oh yeah.
Wayne, to make her feel better, he's like, "You're not." He's like, "You're not mean. You're not bad. You're a good person. You're just not a nice person." I'm like, "Oh my God, 12-year-old Bruce Wayne gets me."
That
Uh,
is okay, so like I'm from like for those who don't know me, I'm in Canada and I'm from the East Coast, which is outrageous like outrageously annoyingly nice. Like, I mean, basically, if you're jaywalking, everyone will stop and be like, "Please go ahead," and I'm like on the horn, like, no. And then I moved to the West Coast, which we'll get to, and then I moved here, and it was really great where someone kind of said like, they're like, "Oh, you came from the West Coast," where they're like, they're nice, but they're not kind, and
Yeah,
here they're kind but not nice. And the difference is that like, and I've seen it in practice where like some woman will get like her, stroller stuck in a snowbank, and some like, just some dipshit lawyer will come by on his phone, pick up the carriage, take it out, and then like not even miss a beat. He'll still be on the phone. But he'll do the
yeah,
right thing, but he'll be a jerk about it.
yeah. Well, it's funny in the U.S. Down below, like your Canada's undercarriage.
Arteta.
Here on the West Coast, it's the same. Like when I moved here, I'm like, oh my God, people are so like
Nice.
friendly or what, and so
Yeah.
nice. And then I'm like, oh, they're not. They're all
Oh
actually
no. Oh no.
terrible. They're worse than, like, yeah, it was a weird, people smile when you walk by them on the sidewalk and like are friendly, and then you're like, but they're mean, they're horrible, dark people inside. Their souls are dead. And I'm like, my people, we
Yeah.
we finally arrived.
It's very much like, what can you do for me kind of attitude, and I'm like, not much.
Yeah, I find
Not much.
it very transactional, which sometimes is okay. Like I at least know how to deal with transactional people.
Yeah, if there's business or artistry or something involved, I'm like, yeah, I can get behind this. But if it's
Yeah,
just like, do you want to hang out? And you're like, well, why? Like, what's your what's your angle?
right. Yeah, yeah, like there have been a few times where somebody's like, "Do you want to hang out?" And then I go over there, and they're like, "Oh, we're making kombucha tonight." And I'm like, "Well, I gotta go."
No thanks.
Like I don't, I have a hard enough time sometimes not smelling like feet on my own. I don't need your kombucha to make it worse.
Exactly. I mean, just yeah, why why add that extra barrier?
I enjoy, like 'cause a lot of the circles when I run with, like my posses, a lot of them are sort of uh alternative like healthcare stuff. So it's like, but I drink a lot of Diet Coke, and they're like, "This is so bad for you." I'm
Oh
like,
God.
"You say as you're on your second bottle of wine. Okay,
Yeah,
fine."
this is my third eight ball, but how dare you have that Diet Coke?
Right. Yeah, right.
Um,
And it's true. It would be people like, like at parties where like that sort of thing was happening. Like, I can't believe you're putting that in your body as they're like doing lines of stuff. And I'm just like, it's 2003. We're not doing that kind of drug anymore, are we? And then I would drink
the
my
answer is
Diet Coke,
yes.
and then I'd be like, move over. And it was 2003. Like you had to do something to get through 2000. That's the year Liz Fair went pop. Like when Liz Fair goes pop, it's bad, so you just do whatever you need to do. Because if she's coping by doing a pop record with Avril Lavigne people, it's bad. So
Yeah, you're like, it's time to go home, honey.
it's time to go. Let me get, like I was about to make fun of her arm sock sleeve things, but now that I wear one for videos, so that it helps my
You're
wrist.
like, wait a minute.
I'm like, wait. I was just looking at hers on one of the old photos the other day. Like, I wonder if I could find one striped like that, so I can look like the Hamburglar. Um,
Oh, I'm like, I want to live like Grimace, truly. Like he's the goal.
it's funny, like, because again, we were sort of mean, but one of my friends was like, started referring to like one of the bitchy cheerleaders at our college as a grimace, and I'm like, what's that? And she's like, a grimace. She's like, it's a girl who's really hot and pretty now, but in like 30 years, she's gonna look like Grimace from Ronald McDonald's.
Ouch.
And I was like, I'm like, we're friends, right? We can be friends now. As I was eating like 10 chicken nuggets, thinking I'm either gonna look like Grimace myself tomorrow, or I'm gonna go through all of these McNuggets up. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Because the 90s. But yeah. So anyway, it just reminded me of that sort of. It was during the Clueless phase where like we all spoke in that. All of my friends anyway, we all spoke in that.
The California mall rat
Yeah,
cadence. I'm noticing YouTube and like advertising in general is doing that, where there's like a lot of, and it feels almost like early 90s kind of like Springer stuff, where like women will sound either like, well, like you should buy this car, and I'm gonna do this little roll at the end of my throat, so it sounds
Yeah.
like this. Like there's a lot of that, or
There's a lot
full
of
porn,
vocal
like just
fry.
pornography, where they're like, "Ooh, this Jetta," and they're like just orgasming over the latest Lincoln model or whatever, and you're like, like, why are these the two venues currently?
Why are people still talking about Jettas? Like,
I don't know, they're
you've said
reliable
Jetta
car.
twice, and I'm just like, what is going on with the people in the Jettas? Because
Street
like my
racing.
feed the other day, there were 4 different people who were talking about Jettas, and I'm like, do they even still make Jet? I was confused.
Wonder if there's a resurgence.
Oh my god, I'm gonna go out, and the dude who always breaks down in the Miata in front of my bus stop by the doctor, like he'll be in a Jetta now. He'll be like turquoise Jetta.
God.
Like I can't with you, Carl.
Poor
I don't know if
old.
that's his name, but that's what I call him because he's such a Carl. It's just fun.
Fill your mouth,
Every
buddy.
time he pulls up, and he knows it's me at this point, and he know. I wonder if his Miata only dies though when he pulls up where I can see it. Like I wonder if it's just like the universe, and like if my life were different, this would be like the beginning of the Sandra Bullock rom-com. But then he's unattractive to me, so it doesn't matter.
Wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be. Well, and his Miata could never. It's always dying, so he can never pick me up for a date anyway. So. Plus, I've got a man, so we're good.
I guess we'll keep him for the meantime.
Oh, and he just got up, so if anyone hears burping or farting in the background, he just woke up and he's getting coffee and breakfast. So
Oh.
that's just extra fun for you guys. Fun, finger quote fun.
I was gonna say, what time is it there? Like,
It's 12:44 p.m. afternoon, but he was up late. It's his weekend.
okay, I wish, God.
Yeah, he was up till 4 or 5. Like, yeah, 4 or 5. So.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's about right. Anyway, anyhow, but yeah, so he's waking up.
I've kind of got this thing where I'm like, I'm almost done. I'm like, I'm nowhere near done. There's just so much surface area.
I've only got Galadriel left. Well, in this spear thing, but I'm surprised that I started with the background, but I'm really happy I made it a molten lava pool thing though. Could have been boring otherwise. All right, Galadriel, you can. Oh wait, no, that's Viralina. I'm sorry, I'll never be able to say her name.
Virulina.
They're never gonna make her an action figure, so it's fine.
Yeah, like, well, it's not a problem really. She'll never be immortalized. I liked her too because she was, again, one of those like just like the bad girls kind of thing. But she was very more the Evelyn type, where I feel like halfway through this, like the series, the 13 episodes, she just said like, "Fuck it, I'm out of here." Like she was scheming, trying to get her own power play going, blah blah blah. Then they're like, "You're dumb, shut up." And she's like, "Fine, I'll just leave." And she just jogged off. And I was like, "I love that energy for you."
Screw you guys! I'll never get to be an action figure anyway. I'm out.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna waste my time here. Like,
Why am I even here if you're never gonna make me a toy?
but then, like, like she kind of came back at the end, like just with no explanation. She was just sort of in the background, like, hey,
Oh,
still here.
yeah. It's true.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
I remember when they first came out, I had a friend who her entire personality became that she had a white Jetta.
Oh God.
It was everything. It was like, I'm gonna go get in the Jetta and I'm gonna go to McDonald's. Do you want anything? And it's like, of course I do.
Like,
McNuggets,
the answer is
bitch.
yes. Yep, always.
Or she's like, we're gonna take the Jetta and go to Houston. It's like, okay.
Just say the car. Just say the
Yeah,
car.
right. Why is the car even in this? We're driving to Houston. I'm gonna assume if we're driving to Houston, there's a car involved.
Give your car a name like normal people. Like, don't make it weird.
And she
Brenda.
probably named her car Jetta. Like, this is my Jetta. I named her Jetta. It's clever.
It's named after the gem saxophonist, Jetta.
Jetta. Yeah. Oh, Jetta.
Jetta? Like a question mark?
She did talk with that upswing at the end. You almost thought it was almost like she was trying to do an Australian accent, but just couldn't. So she just went with the upswing at the end.
Sort of like half-assed Aussie accent.
A dingo ate the baby. Like just that upswing thing. Like they always sound so chipper, no matter how dire it is. I watched.
Yeah, they're like,
oh, sorry.
yeah, watch Mr. Sunday Movies kind of thing, and it's like they're, I want to say they're like, they're not like Sydney, but they're like a larger, like I'm not sure which one, like a larger town coming in Australia.
Yeah.
But it's just
Melbourne.
like, man, they're chipper. I don't think it's Melbourne either. I think it's like Victoria or something.
I watched Neighbours, which is an Australian soap opera, and which is
Mhm.
why we have Kylie Minogue,
Yep.
and Natalie Imbruglia, and I think both of the Hemsworths were on there. I haven't gotten to those episodes because I didn't start watching it until like 24. Well, I watched it a little bit in college because one of my roommates had a bunch of VHS tapes of Australian soap opera with Natalie Imbruglia. She was like, "Oh my god, look, Natalie Imbruglia," and
Who's still such an icon today with their one song.
you know, she thought she saw a man come to life.
There's
Anyway,
nothing here. It's all just a lie.
she's just
Conversation
lying
has
there
run dry.
naked.
Yeah.
Nothing's fine, I'm torn. Anyway, and then like in 2013, I think it was on Hulu for a while, new episodes. And they brought back the character, it was a different actor because soap operas. But they brought back Brad, who was the character that Natalie Imbruglia had been dating, and it was a much cuter actor this time. So I watched it until Hulu stopped carrying it, but now Amazon is carrying it. So I've been catching up on all the 80s-ness of it. Highly recommend it if you like 80s fashion that's 5 years behind because it was Australia. Because they're sort of like, it's sort of like the Midwest is like 2 years fashion-wise behind New York, and Australia is like 7 years behind. So.
Yeah, it's always like, or like Russia kind of thing. It's always like 10 years. Like the music is either like 10 years behind or 10 years in the future, kind of depending on where you're coming in from.
Yeah. No, Russia. They're still listening to Adele.
Yeah, Adele Museum or whatever.
Right. Oh, Adele. Where did our love go wrong? Anyway, oh my God, that's high comedy. So this is because we are all going to see each other later in different chat streams. This is our catchphrase for the day, everyone. Maybe the dingo ate your Jetta. That's our catchphrase. It's a secret.
Your Jetta.
People were mad that Torn was a cover, but nobody knows the cover, so why should we be mad? She actually did something with it.
She made the cover better. Well, I mean, like the same thing as "I Will Always Love You" is a Dolly Parton song, but like it's a Whitney song. Like, let's be real for a minute.
And not only does Dolly acknowledge that, but she laughs all the way to the bank and then takes that money that she still makes to this day from that Whitney cover. And like I mean, we know because somebody went and found out, but like she put all of that money into like impoverished neighborhoods in her state, and like
reading for kids and
and everyone. There's some people right now losing their mind because Beyonce has done a rework / cover of Jolene. I'm like, you realize Dolly Parton gets money from that, right? Not only has Dolly Parton said she loves it and she likes the reinterpretation, Dolly Parton is going to make bank off of this.
Yeah, she's like, you go right ahead.
And she's going to build up the people around her. Like, like there are people who are like, there's no such thing as a good millionaire or whatever, a good billionaire. But I'm like, if they were all like Dolly Parton, I would be less inclined to say, let's eat them all when society collapses.
Yeah.
So next week.
Any day now. Like, hurry up. I don't want to go to work tomorrow.
All right. Oh my God, you guys. I want society to collapse, but I still need the next wave of Origins. So.
Yeah, it's that thing where I'm like, I want to finish X-Men 97 and then it can collapse. Like, just give me this one thing. Like, or I want this pre-order before.
Can can I at
I
least
don't
get
know what bad.
monetized on YouTube before, so I can at least say I made money before the time happened?
Yeah, I'm looking at my numbers and I'm like, I don't think that's. I'm a no risk of that. I don't
You'll
think.
get you will get there. That's the thing. The algorithm. This is the thing. Like there are all these places you watch, and they're like, "This is what to do if you want the algorithm to love you."
Ugh.
The algorithm is not going to love you until you have put out enough product. And this is what we are to them. Our content is product. You have to have enough product for them to push you. Like I've been doing shorts every day since like mid-July of last
Mhm.
summer. They've stopped pushing a lot of my new stuff. It's like clawing to get them to like sort of push some of the newer stuff to if I hit like 200 views on like my new shorts right now, I'm happy. But in the
Mhm.
background, stuff that's like 6, 7, 8 months old, all of a sudden is getting 20 to 30 views because they're now pushing all of my backlog. And then what happens is somebody watches my gem video, like the one that just got pushed to them that's 6 months old. Then they go watch all the other gem videos and they watch all the Barbie stuff.
Yeah.
so so that's what will happen for you. Once you get about 5 to 10 videos, you'll get one or two that are really solid, big performers. And then YouTube has enough to push you at people so that they will go and watch stuff.
I'm
And
like, I think
that's,
you and I
yeah.
talked about it too, where like G.I. Joe was like, I was quite shocked how well that did, and it's
Yeah.
still every day. Like, I mean, and that's like, I hate like sitting and looking at the analytics, but like every day I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Um,
Because
but
again, there are enough
G.I. Joe
fans.
is above and beyond, like just
Yep.
shockingly how that community jumps on it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really surprised.
Yeah. And they're pretty, contrary to what you might hear, mostly they are pretty decent to interact with. So,
Mhm.
um, I haven't done a ton of GI Joe content yet, but when I do, I get very nice comments. They're very happy that somebody, especially when it's real American hero era,
Yeah.
kind of like Jem. They're just happy somebody is into their toy line. It's kind of we sort of have circled back almost, but it's kind of like people like when you're into their thing because then they don't feel sort of alone and isolated. Yeah. And toy collecting can be very especially for those of us who have been doing it since like the 80s because, you know, we're kind of nerds.
Yeah, it's the thing where like we were also in that generation where it's like I came out as gay before coming out as nerd. Like it was actually like
Yeah.
it was very hazardous to your health back then, where like nerds were not like cool or like someone's like I watched a Marvel, I'm a nerd, and you're like shut up, like you
Yeah.
you don't even know like how
Right.
good you got it. It's like I could have been beaten
Yeah,
up like.
right. Well, I remember going even during sort of episode one, whenever, like Power of the Force
Mhm.
2, like suddenly you stopped getting shade in the toy aisle.
Yeah, I
People still
remember
kind of
like
looked at
episode
you
one.
oddly.
I remember being in like line episode one and just getting like catcalled by like random jocks like driving by, and I'm all like, oh, they might have a gun. Like it was like a different time.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. But like I sort of skirt by because a lot of times people assume I'm probably buying for a child, my inner child. Um,
yeah,
Not always
I
the case. Whenever
no, I
I
remember
was
like
dressing like the craft, not so much.
yeah, I think the worst time ever was I don't really go to toy stores anymore just because I'm like I'd rather spend the money and know that it's coming, and
Hmm.
that's that. Um, but like there was the Batman Lego blind bags.
Oh
And I
my
was like,
gosh.
I'm getting Catman. And I literally went to some website and they were like, look, like grab the bag, squish it with your thumbs, you're gonna find these three little prongs. That's Catman, go get it. And I spent 45 minutes at the aisle. Like, I went through every goddamn bag and I was
Throwing up
like, I'm
toys.
not leaving without Catman.
Oh my god, epic.
Ugh, okay.
I watched a Marvel. That's good.
Mr. Marble. Yes, daddy.
Yeah. And then Alex. Oh, well, we're almost getting to the 2 hour point,
And mine's
which
looking
is,
okay.
yeah, so getting close. Let's show the people where your picture is at really quick.
Yeah, they're going, no, oh no. All right, here we go.
Oh,
I went for
wow.
like I went for slime algae pond.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I like that. That's nice.
With the green
And
against them, so
I like your color saturation.
yeah.
It looks
I'm
very
trying
comic.
different things.
Yeah, no, it looks very comic book coloring to me, like vintage era, like the best of it, not like sort of the
Yeah,
actual
like the
Visionaries color comic book that's sort of cheaply done.
yeah, the Marvel Star comics that were always kind of like
Yeah,
haphazardly thrown together kind of
yeah,
thing. Yeah, because I don't know if I have the right colors. Like, yeah, before we started, I'm like, I don't have a proper violet, or the I got really mad about it, and
yeah. You've
here
got
we are.
summer crossover Avengers coloring happening there. So,
Hmm.
all right. So I'll throw mine. Mine
Oh,
is
thanks,
not
y'all.
huge. And let's see. Breck loves it. Thanos says it looks good. Derek, oh rad. There you go. That's how you know you're Gen X because we still use rad.
Bad. Tubular.
And quickly, I will throw mine up there. There we go. So it's still
Lava.
move the camera over a little. There we go. So
Yeah,
yeah,
see,
I
it's like
still
the
need to
shading for the
finish
rock.
her.
It's the rock shading that I'm like, I don't know how y'all do that, but it's cool.
It just takes time. It
Mhm.
like I used to not shade at all. It just you get used to doing it, and next time when because you're definitely coming back. Um,
Oh yeah.
next time you come on, we'll lean more into the coloring side of it, and we'll do a couple easy shading techniques, get you on your way. Because all
Hmm.
you have to do is have it happen for you good one time, and then you overdo it for a while. It's like the first time you've had, like the first time you date someone that you have sex with. The first time it's like okay, but you kind of know what you're doing. And then you get really into it, but it's really not good because like you're too into it and you're overdoing it. And then
Yeah,
you
you're
find
like
the
performing
place.
pornography where you're like, ooh, yeah, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is not me.
And
Like,
then you
this
find the sweet
is not
spot
me.
where it's accurate. Like this is how it should be. It's the same with
Yeah, you want
shading.
something more realistic where they're like, do you like it? And you're like, yes, I like it. Like, do we have to have this conversation every time? Like, stop it.
Yeah, right. Like let's not discuss it. Let's just do it. So
No, no talking, no.
unless it's a talking, sometimes you want to talk to. So anyway, yeah, no, when you come back, we'll practice some shading techniques. I'll find
Mhm.
what it'll be in the future. So I don't know what book we'll pick, but whatever we pick, I will find a page from the book that we can do some shading technique on. So we'll
Right.
get you going, girl. We got
Excellent.
you.
Oh, you good.
But Alex, you're still trying to figure it out. But the last time when we did our buddy color, you did some shading and it looks pretty good. So you're figuring it out, but you're getting there. So
Yeah, I think like the yes, just keep going. Um, like I understand like light source, darker color, but I mean, yeah, it's just sort of the
yeah.
yeah,
Well, there's a
the
lot of
mechanics of it.
tutorials on YouTube that go really extremely into how to figure out your lighting source. Um, my personal advice, because I don't worry about it. My personal advice starting out, just practice the shading, worry about the lighting stuff later.
Yeah, true.
Because
Um,
you eventually get that stuff eventually comes naturally to you after you've done it a while, like sex. You do it enough times, you're like, okay, this works, this doesn't work, this is how it looks. Um, like even this sort of hot lava effect, that was just like me practicing enough times to figure it out. The same with the shading up in here. It's just you sort of mess around with it, you overdo it, it looks bad, and then you find the sweet spot. So again, like sex. So and I know what my after dark coloring channel will be now: sex tips and shading. Anyway, uh,
yeah, get that like Sex with Sue coloring book and
welcome. Yeah, we'll do that, and I'll find like some coloring book with like Anna Nicole Smith or whatever.
or like literally look up like like April O'Neil obese feet pictures on like
Oh my
DeviantArt and
god,
just get that black and white and be like, we're coloring whatever this
there
is.
are a couple people on Etsy who have done original art that are sexy time pictures. So there's
Mm.
plenty of content out. I mean, there are a couple. For whatever reason, Etsy is convinced I need to purchase some Tom of Finland inspired coloring pages. So maybe at some point.
Maybe.
Just don't. I just recommend nobody Google Tom of Finland anywhere where people are going to be looking with, because I don't think anything will pull up with safe search on anyway. But
No. Although if I'm like recommending they go look up like GoBot rape, I mean, knock
it's a
yourself
good
out.
point. Yeah, right. So, but I'm just saying safe search it. But I
Safe
was
search
like, wow, that would be fun to color. Anyway, all right. So it is 1:03 my time, which means 2 hours have passed, so we should wrap it up. I'm going to finish this offline, and then I'll post it on Instagram and tag you.
Yes, and I will put this
So,
up shortly too.
where can the people find you, Andrew?
They can find me on Instagram under Gayties Toys, and now YouTube. I finally took the plunge and have my M.I.A. 80s ladies there, so I'm kind of going through the back catalog now. Pumping the brakes a bit on Instagram. We'll see if I continue that there, but yeah, definitely follow me there.
And his Visionaries ladies episode posted last week.
Yes,
so
and
that's there.
it's funny because I forgot. Well, two things. I forgot Derek was launching his. We were doing this, and in the middle, I was like, oh well, I want to do that one, and then I'm like, this. It's a lot of Visionaries content in 1 week.
It's Showtime synergy. So
Sure
in
was.
3 weeks, when the 7 Visionaries fans log into YouTube, they're going to have 3 different videos to watch. They're going to have Derek's, yours, and this one.
Yep.
And then
they're
they
gonna be
can
like, wow, embarrassment of riches.
yeah, and then you'll have like 37 views on the Visionaries episode, and it'll be amazing.
That's generous.
It'll be rolling in the bucks. I'm sure you'll eventually, over time, it'll build up.
I mean, that's the thing too. Like, I mean, for anyone, I can vouch now, being on the other side. Like, for anyone interested in doing it, like, I'm not technically minded. I don't love editing softwares. I don't love being on camera. Like, this is the face and the voice of someone who did too much partying in the '90s. So, like, but like the actual, just the creation of it and just doing it, I find fun. So, like,
Yep.
if anyone is interested in doing it, just do it. And again, if you're worried about editing, just throw it out, and you'll get better the next time and the next time and the next time.
Yeah, I personally enjoy watching content by people who get better each time. I like watching that journey. So yeah, just do it. It's easier to do it badly than to sit around trying to perfect yourself so that you're hitting it out of the park. I mean, like,
No.
I didn't post content for a long time because I needed to be perfect, and now I'm just like, I just need to get it out of my head so that I can move to the next thing, and each thing gets a little better. So
That's the thing, 'cause I mean, like, I don't script it, but I know like what points I want to talk about, so I kind of just do more conversational. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And usually I'm hungover. Just fun fact, like, behind the curtain, I'm sitting there like, I'm not well,
yeah,
but I'm
right.
gonna do this.
Just do it. No, that's a secret. And if you are in chat right now and you haven't subscribed to Andrew's channel, the link is in the description of this video. You can click on the @Gayties Toys and it'll take you to his channel. Go subscribe, watch his content. His videos are also shorter, so they're perfect. You don't need 40-50 minutes set aside. You can go in, and the longest one I think so far is like, what, 15 minutes?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, less than 15 minutes. And in my opinion, 12 to 15 minutes is the perfect length, unless you're doing a supercut deep dive.
Yeah, I think, like, I mean, someone like RC, who actually has a lot more content, I'll probably spend quite a bit more time on her. But like, I
Yeah,
mean, even these two here, like, there's not that much to talk about.
yeah.
Like, we don't need to drag this out. So
And
I keep
there
it pretty
are
brief.
channels that would turn that into a 30-minute video, and anytime I do anything more than like 17 minutes, I'm like, what can I cut here? And I'm like, there's nothing I
Yeah.
can cut here.
Yeah, it gets a little extreme at some point. I'm like, you're in, you're out. Learn something new. That's the point.
Oh, and Thanos has generously made it easier. Thank you,
Oh,
Thanos. This is
thank you.
why I've made you one of my moderators, because Thanos is on top of the things. So here you go, in many ways. Anyway,
But
that's where the drum roll I would drop it in if I were to edit this later, but I won't.
yeah.
That's where the rim shot would go. Anyway, yeah, so go follow and subscribe and watch Andrew's stuff. There's good content, especially for us who enjoy the unmade figures that we should have had, could have had, and in some
I didn't
cases
get.
we'll get because some of the ramen toys.
Well,
Hot.
I mean, they've got a lot of characters to get through, but I mean, they've been burning through Mask or Machina or whatever they're calling it. So I mean, even their line, they're like, we're doing Gloria with the good car, and we're doing Vanessa with her. I think it's a Corvette or something. But yeah, like they busted those out like immediately. So I'm like, there's hope here.
Well, and if with the Visionaries ladies, if they were to go with a neutral, the sort of more of the comic book look, they could pretty much get away with using mostly the same sculpt and just clip on armor pieces. So,
Oh yeah. I mean,
like
even
they're
when I did my customs, they were like they literally had the same torso. Like they're very similar.
yeah, like the boots are the same except for the knee pads, but knee pads are easily clip-ons. So,
Yeah.
anyhow, all right. Um,
And yes, Brick, Melodia is coming, as is Rita Repulsa. So we'll get to
excellent.
them.
All right. So yeah. What do you have coming up this week, or is it too soon?
Too soon. I'm debating between two. It might be Skeleton Warriors. I think I'm leaning more in that direction. So we're doing a lot more '90s lately, but there's just good information on those. So
Yeah. Thank you, Toy Fair.
yeah, honestly, yeah, Skeleton Warriors or Sectars, both of which
Ooh.
one's a good story, one's a bad story. So we'll see which I'm in the mood for.
When one of them with Sectars, though, there is sort of the happy ending of Stellara, and she's
Yep,
over on my shelf, and she's pretty magnificent. So
pretty great. And there's probably more coming because they've been advertising using women from the villain sides of Sectars. So I'm like, they know they're there. They're aware. Like they're.
well, and I think Brick and I did an because we won a giveaway on yes have some. Well the thing was if I won I was going to give him Jargon and he was going to give me Stellara. And so he won, so I got Stellara, and we did and at some point it's just his schedule is a little hectic with AWOC right now. But when that lands, there's an unboxing of her, and he was. I'm not going to give it away, but what I will say is I think Stellara is the direction that Nacelle should go with the Sectars. If they want to be successful with it and to endear themselves, I think most sort like Origins, I think for me right now, like their strength is if they start leaning into unproduced and that scale characters, never before characters, rather than, now that it's not 100% retail, go for it, guys.
Oh, totally. I mean, they've got like, I mean, Pixel Dan did a video, I want to say yesterday, on the produced toys that haven't
Yeah,
been made in Origins yet. And they're all like, almost all of them are like individual sculpts. So like they're going to
yeah,
take some time to
I
get
kind
made
of
kind of thing.
need
But
to be
like,
spread out.
so I mean, like, I think they might lean more into run produced and even like, say like the Shira crew or Queen Marlena, like there's enough there where it's like you could get $1 and just churn out a bunch kind
Well,
of
I
thing.
mean,
So
like Shira, like if they do Casa Spella, they can turn around and also get Entrapta from that sculpt.
yep,
If they do one Catra, they could do 4 Catras, toy sculpt, of
exactly.
course. But also, depending on how they do the sculpt, it would be really easy that, like, Catra's bodice, where the gem is, if they make that a clip-on piece, they could easily just do clip-on armor and get us the entire Pop Girls with just new armor. So,
Yeah, that's the
anyway.
thing. I mean, like I think most of classics kind of did that where it's like basically you had almost like a flat buck with arms kind of thing, and they'd sort of put on like the boob attachment with
Yeah.
whatever pattern their shirt was kind of thing. Like that's and it works
Yeah,
well.
I think it would work well for Origins. All right, so
Mm.
really quickly, what I've got coming up, obviously Daily Shorts still happening for a little bit before we take a rest for my summer vacation. Monday, I have a color and flip through video of a 2017 Wonder Woman art with an edge coloring book by Crayola. Um, Friday, there is a Barbie and the Rocker color and chill with them playing beach ball. And then on Saturday, phase 1 Kenner booklet of Darcy Doll will be out. And then next Sunday, I'm here with Mark from the Holdo maneuver, and we're going to be coloring some Obi-Wan versus Anakin art and talking Star Wars stuff. So, yeah. So that's what I got. And really quick, sort of, but not really. Like, you know, it's not what I was going for there, Brick. But, you know, I get it. And all right, there you, yeah.
Derek and I on
Yeah,
the same
you
page
should
with
always
that.
use the back door to get to Brave Star. Anyway.
Brave Star's back door? What?
Yeah, right? Exactly. Exactly. And on that note, one last reminder, Moby is trash. I'm Allison Troy, Retro Toy Princess. This is Andrew from Gayties Toys. We'll see you in the next one. And end stream.